Welcome, everyone, on this beautiful Friday morning. Hopefully you remembered to be able to come in. We're starting early today. If you didn't, I guess you're probably not watching this or you're watching it as a VOD. Either
maybe
way,
you're resting.
You need to be able to come in and make sure you're tuning in to watch what is going to be a wonderful first set. My name is Gormizer. Joining me here for this first desk segment is going to be none other than Evan Rainday.
The infamous.
The
mischievous.
Oh, infamous. As of for today, you're
For
infamous.
the last 24 hours, been a little infamous. We're not going to bring too much of that into the segment today because, I want to focus on my job. I suggest everybody else who's spending a lot of time on doing other things focus on their job, which is winning games and doing that. And then we can all make sure we're doing the best to our abilities to keep getting better each day. The thing I will say, though, is that when you look at these narratives that we're going to be building for teams, we have to focus on certain things that allow us to really help to expand on the development that has gone on throughout not just this week, but multiple weeks. And it's an arcing theme that, we will look at different ways and probably people viewing, probably people casting, and we're going to do our best. That's really all that it is, and that's all there needs to be said. I don't want to keep it negative. I want to move forward into a positive direction, as should everybody else. So at the end of the day, I'm happy that what we've been doing is praising, and we're going to continue to do that for great teams, and we wish everybody luck today.
Well, speaking of great teams, the first team that we're going to kind of dissect into here is going to be Spacestation Gaming. Yesterday took what I would say is kind of a rough loss overall for them up against NIP. It ended up being a 4-0, but it's a little misleading. The last three games were definitely very heavily NIP favored, but that first game was very kind of contended between the two teams, which I think, admittedly, I'm going to say is still pretty big when you're looking at a behemoth like NIP.
I mean, SSG clearly are a team that has a fundamental strength in the fact that their flexibility as a unit is something that's almost never been questioned until yesterday. There was a lot of conversation around the champion drafts of NIP making themselves just a little bit above what SSG have put on the table thus far and taking the Amani. And one of the things we heard in that post-game interview is they found out during the week, and they were finding out when they were doing some testing themselves, is that they noticed SSG doesn't really, FRZ, God, Ares, they don't really play Amani. And that gave them the flexibility and the freedom to say, okay, we're going to draft her late. We might prioritize Atlas here. Obviously, what I love so much about Richal is that he is one of the best point tanks. He's one of the best barracks Leonaras that we have in our league. His consistency in that role is something that I'd like to see SSG go back to a little bit. I thought they got off base when they put him on the Torvald, and I'd like to see them continue to do what's worked for them throughout the season.
And I think that's kind of where my eyes are. Looking back to yesterday, it didn't really feel too much like the Space Station Gaming I'm used to seeing, right? Sure. Atlas being brought in again in Game 1, even Game 2, it kind of still looked more like the team I'm used to seeing.
Yeah.
But it kind of faded as time went on because, like you said, well, they aren't playing the Amani, but it felt like they were trying to counterpick it all the time. Like they were thinking about that, but instead of just playing what they play best. When they grabbed that Torvald, I agree with you, it didn't quite look quite as clean. And the same thing, I'm going to throw it under the bus, when it got to the Kinessa on the 4th map as well. When they go to Frog Isle.
That didn't work.
That's, I don't think SSG, and when I think them, I don't think snipers, I guess, is the best way to word it.
You know what I think about SSG is unflinching. That's the thing that I think NIP forced them out of their comfort zone. We saw them on a few picks that did say, Richal on the Torvald specifically, and on the Frog Isle map, we saw Kinessa on Ares. Ares is really good at that mid kind of off pick, which is the Maves, right? You look at back in the day, he used to be that off tank in the cons. He was really playing that role and has a lot of flexibility. Snipers, not necessarily his forte the way we might look at somebody like Ricotta or Rock Monkey. However, one of the best things about this team is their consistency, like I've mentioned before, and Midtow is a huge part of that. He makes some big plays, some huge stuns. His role for this team is extremely impactful.
And I think, honestly, if you want to look at where the comfort can come from for this team, it's the two players that were highlighted here, right? Richal, Midtow, both of them. And I'm going to wheel and kind of grab Sadak, throw him into this as well, because those three are the core.
Right.
And as long as two of those three, specifically one frontline, one support, so Midtow has to be comfortable, but as long as they're happy, as long as they're like feeling themselves, they're going to be, I think, in the right direction. I think yesterday they got kind of tripped up on their own kind of strategy coming into it, and now you're looking at it as how much are you going to prioritize Atlas? Is he going to be a ban?
Absolutely.
Or is he going to be your win condition against the Renegades?
And I'm excited to talk a little bit about the Renegades, but finishing up on Space Station, one of the reasons we have to go back to this overarching theme of the undefeated Titans at the top, NIP, is that Space Station have been unflinching. They play Drogos into the Leon. FRZ God doesn't care. He'll get a Quadra on you anyways, except yesterday. And that was something that I think seeing how that even shifted SSG, got to be a little, shaken up right now. I feel that they're going to be coming into this set with a lot of determination. It's a game they can't drop standings-wise because it's a team they should beat.
Oh, yes.
And now it's really all up for Renegades. I mean, they should lose this game technically, but they've been really working hard to try to make sure that they can continue to grow. Shadow, like we said, has put himself in a position to be officially on this team, and that's congratulations to him. Continuing on that, I'm just excited to see how SSG adapt from that loss heading into this matchup with Renegades.
Losses usually speak a little bit more than the wins. You learn a lot more from them, and of course, we have no one other than the coach for SSG to be able to break down what exactly the team learned from yesterday and how they're going to adapt it into today.
Thank you, guys. We're here in the Space Station booth. We got the head coach of Space Station, Kresnik, with me. You guys had a tough set yesterday. What are some of the takeaways and maybe some changes looking forward to today?
I don't know if I could spoil all of that, but we definitely want to adapt from what we learned. We were boot camping with a single team for the previous couple of days going into this, so there was a lot of things that we weren't expecting going into the NIP set. Also a play style we hadn't been adapted to. Still, live and learn, adapt, bring our style into this meta, see what we can get from that.
After playing with it and against it for a day, what are your takes now on Atlas and Amani? Where do they kind of tier list in your opinion?
I mean, Amani's definitely moved up. I still stand behind the big game comment from yesterday that it is very strong, but her vertical mobility and her CC with the root, very strong. I think makes her definitely move up a couple pegs. Atlas, I think we were using him with the wrong legendary that whole time too. Big Shield, good. Not as good as the versatility of Deja Vu. I'd say he'd probably stay about the same, but playstyle change.
Absolutely. Looking back, learning some new things. Let's look across the hour. You have Renegades on the opposite side. How do you feel about the matchup?
I mean, they're our friends. I stayed in Airbnb with them for the last HRX. Had some laughs with them on the walk out before, but I'd like to say we're confident. I think we took some things from NIP, but I'm excited for a good matchup, hopefully.
Absolutely. Feeling good, looking good in here. High hopes. Let's send it back to the desk and keep it moving.
Well, they're 2-1 right now for Space Station Gaming. Their one loss being yesterday against NIP. And that was the two things, I guess technically three things that I caught out of that interview. And the first question is Kresnik saying, we want to bring some of our style into today. Like yesterday, they weren't feeling themselves.
Yeah, and I think that's interesting because I don't know how to not bring up Scrims because he said it, because he said they had been training against the same team for the last 2 days.
Yeah.
Feels very relevant that he brought that up because of the fact that maybe they weren't as versatile as they would have wanted to be.
True.
The different looks that they've been getting clearly didn't prepare them for NIP, and NIP are almost masters at doing that and setting people up. But I think SSG now have learned a big lesson. Deja Vu over, Temporal Divide, I believe. I mean, it's a huge change in the way that you, I think, value what Atlas can do position-wise. Hitting around those corners, being able to get those rewinds and getting those group rewinds, I mean, that is so game-changing for the right hand. So it feels like they've done their homework. It feels like they've assessed what went wrong. And that's the best thing that you can have when you have a loss.
And one of the things that I think made a big difference for them was the fact that, like we had mentioned, putting Rachao on things that were maybe a little uncomfortable. Yeah. I want to see them return to that because their frontline matchup today is not going to be an easy one. Hero has been one of the few players I think we've seen. I think he kind of started partially as like a frontline, like point tank, off tank, like he would kind of flex between the two. But now he's become kind of the official point tank here, and he's gone into the role almost flawless.
Hero is such an underrated player in what he does for this Renegades team because he really is a lot of the stability. I look at him exactly like Tolkien for Envy, but obviously Renegades haven't been able to achieve that level of success at the high tier, at this, kind of competitive nature. But Hero does everything the way he needs to. If anything, you can almost gripe on Hero for not maybe being more aggressive because I think that he should have the confidence with how he's played and the way he's developed as a player throughout these last couple of seasons. I expect him to do well today, and I expect Renegades to catalyze off of his good energy. He's a guy that brings a lot of smiles, as you can see here, to the booth, and he's got a great personality to uplift the spirits of a team that really needs to keep their head in the right space this set.
And that was actually one of the things I feel like have seen them as they progress. A lot of the players on Renegades right now play their role incredibly well. In fact, looking at Viral right now, he's I would say, one of the best supports I have ever seen when it comes down to his play. He is a phenomenal player. But the team's 1-5, right?
Yeah.
It's in 6 matches they've only been able to win 1. And while I think a huge chunk of that can be won with the front line and the support, that's when you start to see maybe it comes down very much like what we saw with like SK Gaming during the last split last year. Even if you have some of the best players, maybe they don't click the way they need to. Something about Renegades needs to kind of come together here because they have the talent. We've seen it all around. It's just, where is the issue?
Well, I think for the first time in this season, we saw that with Shadow and giving them that blaster flex, Renegades really developed an identity. And that's where we got excited to see them play. And that's where there was this hype building around it. And it kind of got muddled because of complications that you hate to have happen that are just real-world things. You know, having trouble figuring out who's going to actually take your replacement. Having a guy who's been around in the roster in Loki maybe coming back, maybe not. Visa issues. I mean, that sucks to be the thing that's stopping you from just focusing on play. But it has. And now that they know, I hope that they could start to rebuild and keep going in the right direction. I think Renegades have a lot of promise. Is it going to happen today? I would be very surprised if it did.
Yeah.
I have SSG winning this one, but I'm sure most people do. It's going to be up to Renegades, again, to turn the tide and prove that, yeah, we can hang with these guys and we're better than them.
And that's one of those things right now, and this is what I said about SSG yesterday in their match against NIP.
Yeah.
It's the same thing I think Renegades have to look for here. You need to win a map. You can win 2 maps.
Yeah.
No matter what, like getting just a single map, that counts as a win. You get 2 maps, to me, that counts as a win. If you win the set, you blow everyone's mind.
Absolutely.
So you take those steps in the right direction. Of course, the only way to kind of determine how they're feeling is to go down to the floor, see how they're feeling in their fresh new jerseys with Powtech.
All right, guys, thank you very much. We're in here in the Renegades booth. We got the head coach of Renegades, Powtech, standing by. First of all, you guys got the new jerseys on. You're looking good. How are you guys feeling today?
Feeling pretty good, honestly. It's nice to have the jerseys, give a little bit of confidence boost.
Absolutely. Well, you've had some time to kind of sit back and watch the meta change. Yesterday, we saw Atlas and Amani get some play. What are some takeaways that you saw?
We played against Navi yesterday, so, I mean, we're kind of feeling the good meta right now, so we'll see what happens.
If you look across the board, you see Spacestation over there. They had a tough set against NIP yesterday. How do you feel about your matchup against them?
Feeling pretty confident. I mean, we'll see how it happens. I don't know.
Are you going to lean into the, I don't want you to give away too much, lean into the Atlas Amani meta a little bit?
Might see something.
Might see a little bit of something. Well, they're feeling good over here. Let's send them back to the desk and get this day rolling.
Like, Powtech's been watching me with how many times he said, we'll see what happens,
We'll
or
see
we'll
what
see
happens.
if something comes through.
Yeah,
Like,
we'll see.
I'm a broken record, and even that was, very vague answers.
Well, I think, I mean, just being honest, they're honest with us. They don't really like doing pregame interviews, and, that's what you got, so they're not giving a lot of information. There's a lot of ways to talk about things and still not give a lot of information, and that was whatever. They got a game to play, but at the end of the day, yeah, we didn't learn too much, but I think that the sentiment is he's in a relatively positive mood. I say if you're going to say plus or minus, I'd say plus. If even slightly plus.
Well,
so
the jersey
feel
gives like
good.
a +1 to
Well, the
happiness.
jersey is like a +2.5.
Yeah.
And they did step into the booth like a little bit. They got a little bit of the hyperbolic time chamber booth juice there. So they actually now they're favorites. Actually, never mind. Just throw it all the analysis out the window. They're favorites.
Well, they're currently 1-5, -15. So honestly, like, I'm just going to throw this out there. Even if they take this as a 4-0, it won't really budge them in the standings right now. Whereas if you look at
That's
Space Station 2-1-2, a 4-0 for them means they jump up into third. That's actually going to be very big. The standings up in the top 4 right now are very kind of, well, okay, the standings from 2 to 4 right now are very close. NIP is 12 maps ahead of everybody else. It's going to take a while to catch up to them.
It will be.
I think this has big implications. Like, if SSG win, it has almost immediate repercussions in the standings.
Sure.
If Renegades win, it just showcases that they are not a team to count out anymore.
Yeah, I think Renegades have the opportunity, like every other team, to prove to make the conversation around them. Currently, we have a combo around SSG, and that only slightly shifted because of the impact they had yesterday, which was a little null as far as things are concerned. Today, we are going to be doing something a little different, by the way, in our picks and bans. Just for this first set, most likely. We'll see how it shifts, but Gore and I will be casting this game as well, just so you guys know. We're not going to be heading down to Dave and Nick at the moment. And getting into this, though, Gore, we have the Makoa, and what is interesting is no Atlas ban yet. So are SSG going to mess with not banning Atlas and maybe giving it to Renegades in a kind of a dicey situation.
For me, it's going to matter how much they learn to play against. I mean, I don't think anyone's going to give you the best experience more than Diggy right now.
Right.
That yesterday was just them getting reamed. That's the only way I can really describe it. It was so phenomenal, that switch. I thought Atlas looked good in game 1.
Yeah.
And then I said it on the desk afterward. Diggy showed them how to play Atlas in game 2. And I'm wondering if that's going to, now that Khan has been locked in for Renegades, maybe open up the door for Space Station to potentially scoop it up and kind of adapt that playstyle. Well,
we all know that the Cassie is going to be more prioritized for SSG because what we've heard is that they're not really fans of the Amani. Not even fans, they just don't play it as much. That was something that NIP exploited. So Cassie Atlas means, yes, because of the way the bans are, they cannot actually pick the Amani. That's just how it is in these phases because their interaction together does cause some issues. So you have to choose one or the other, technically, in this game. So now Renegades, they have Khan. They could go Amani if they want.
In this game,
but I don't know if that's an Invocals champion pool. Truly, that would have to be something that I don't know.
Pray to your God.
I don't know. Doesn't feel as likely to come out. It could be Shadow, but I have no awareness whether he plays it a lot.
I mean, this is so far relatively standard from Renegades, and honestly for Frozen Guard, I kind of like that. This is exactly what you need to be able to control this map. I think it's important to note that Ice Mines was banned out by Space Station Gaming, which is something that we've seen other teams kind of exploit. That's where Renegades
That's their
choice.
Exploit. Yeah.
And so being able to kind of pull that away from them and maybe force them to be a little more uncomfortable is going to open it up. They grab the Ying, they grab the Anar, and I feel like Ying we've seen played, but really only by Birds so far.
Oh, and look at this, the Amani. Now, this is something that could really elevate Renegades because we know that SSG had trouble dealing with it. And we know that it's not a priority for them. I don't know what kind of changes they may have made, but still not taking it in the draft and getting Cassie and Atlas first means that they could be susceptible to Ying pick, as well something common in the Brazilian region. Ying, Ceres, much more played there in Brazil and Europe rather than in North America, where we see less of a priority there as far as our history has told us on broadcast. The Ruckus here coming out last.
Now, thinking about it and the path I'm going through for my mind, Cassie goes to Ares, Atlas goes to Sadak, Ying goes to Mitao, you have a Nara here for a Chow. That would mean the last pick here is probably FRZ God unless they lock in a Ruckus.
No, you're absolutely right. This is interesting because the triple tank here is something that SSG are flirting with, that NIP have kind of shown us. They're really the only team to bring out this deadly triple tank consistently in different moments and catch them off guard. Does it work here, though? I mean, Frozen Guard, I mean, it could. It really could. Yeah. And if truly, I think that this could be...
Champions.
No, okay, there we go.
Okay.
Right. I was going to say, Victor, Bomb King, like their DPS that I've seen SSG be successful on are still available.
Yeah.
It would have kind of, like, it would have given me a start to see a Ruckus locked in there.
Well, you know what? I would have actually kind of liked it. Because I think it would have been so, I mean, it catches everybody off guard.
True.
And if you can make it work, then Renegades are like, well, what the heck do we ban? What do we draft at this point? This is going to be interesting, especially with the shift over to Deja Vu. We saw, like we mentioned, the Temporal Divide. Kresnik himself mentioned they probably were using the wrong Legendary. Very good talent. But the Deja Vu has so many other implications as far as around corners, group setbacks, and... the second chance has proven to be one of the more impactful tank abilities we have seen. And we really still have yet to see how much the Exile will come into play. We've seen a couple of really good ones isolating damage dealers and supports out of the fight.
Well, they're going to be coming in here. Again, Frozen Guard as map number 1. I'm actually really curious to see if the Renegades have what it takes here, just because, again, Khan, Leon, and Mani being able to come in, there's a lot of control, a lot of damage on this squad. And I'm going to say this, Imani's Dragon is really good on maps like this. There's enough cover for you to be able to throw the ult out without it really catching you off guard, like putting you in a bad position.
Yeah.
And you have enough room and enough cover for the Dragon to not just get burned down in the process of getting to the fight.
And it's going to be interesting here, as we do see, ends up being, well, let's hover over Sadak. I feel like that is Temporal Divide still.
Let the battle begin.
And that's interesting.
It's
So
almost
keep with
immediately counter to their interview.
It's exactly counter, and let's take a look at it for Space Station. We're looking at Imani's right now, and that is very good to know. But
Beyond the Veil again.
Beyond the Veil, so key to this. Paradox as well, reducing the cooldown of second chance. What that means is that you're just going to get that full health reset and relocate as much as possible. prioritizing old wounds as well, be a little healthier. There's that Beyond the Veil. Gets a little bit of movement speed, Gore, as we kick it off.
And I believe yesterday in their first game, that was actually kind of missing from their loadout. They didn't have the movement speed. And now you can see, so far, control's so good for them. And the one thing that Atlas is bringing to the table that I think hasn't been touched on outside of that wall is really the damage. Like, we looked at it yesterday, but again, Diggy Dog did a great example of showcasing what this gun can do.
Gore, it is 99-0.
That's just good old-fashioned
And Rachao has gotten, like, both kills. He got the kill early on. What is this fight? Renegades feel like they had a plan, but just kind of got lost along the way and forgot where they were going. A really good start for Space Station, but I have to say that wasn't very heavily contested.
And actually seeing where Renegades are respawning now, it makes me realize that Sadak was kind of pushing them away from their base. Like they did the loop-to-loop that we're used to seeing at the beginning of some of these fights, but I mean, the fact that they got so out-pressured, out-pushed, out-controlled on the objective, like, Rachao just kind of moved in, set up his recliner, turned on the TVs, watching the new season of Game of Thrones. Like, he's just in it.
I mean, that's what Barrick's supposed to do. He's the stay-at-home dad of Paladins. So when you look at that, just getting beat by Rachao and the Anar, there's a Ying clone as well. The big thing about it is turrets are a huge deal, especially for both teams. Deployables could become a factor because you have Barrick or the side of Renegades, but you also have the Amani Dragon, and that is a big deal. A little bit of damage from mid-tower never hurt nobody except Hero, who goes down as the Ying continues to blast. And SSG are on the move.
I mean, just trying to get the pressure. The one thing, again, about this Chrono Cannon, it's got 4 different forms of fire. You just got to see 2 there. One precise 900 damage shot, one kind of shotgun blast right in front of you that you can use that's just going to be kind of an instant fire. Then there's 2 phases between based on how long you kind of charge it. You can get some like long-range, semi-accurate burst fire. And the fact that I think that is probably going to play one of the biggest roles in how much damage you can do as them is how versatile are you in using this weapon. You don't want to charge all the time. You don't want to not charge all the time. Like, you have to use those different phases to make sure you can kind of hit this range the way you want.
And the thing is, I want to bring up this loadout one more time because there is a 1-point wonder we've seen. Hitting fully charged weapon shots restores 1 ammo. It's essentially infinite ammo when you look at it that way, because if you keep hitting 1 shot, you just keep getting the ammo back for 1 more shot. If you just keep hitting it, you just keep getting it. And there's the Dragon, and Vocal going to shut things down with 2. He is getting very, very well supported here. And Vocal taking the reign of the Dragon, of Imani. It's a big pressure situation, but that's the benefit of him and Shadow. Shadow flexing onto Leon with a triple kill here, shutting it down. Still 18 seconds left. Can they touch?
Well, it's good to see they have it in their wheelhouse, right? That's the one thing I think, like, that lineup needed that flexibility. One of the things that Renegades, I would say, until Shadow suffered from was they had lacked a blaster. They lacked like that flexibility. And then when a new champion comes out, lacking the flexibility there can hurt you. So being able to just say, you know what, we're confident enough, pick it up, see what we can do with this Amani. It at least gets you a defense, and that starts with the Dragon. But unfortunately, that means you don't have it going into this round.
And Imani's going to be great on the defense here, Gore, because she has that lack of fall-off that we don't see for every champion. And that's where Leon's, Kinessa's, and you even look at Victor's, even though he has a fall-off, but he's just got that pressure from range. But even Shaolin's, you know, excel on Frozen Guard due to just the long lines of sight you have to fight through in order to push this thing. And it is so momentum-based as well.
That was just such a slow burn fight. Nothing really happened until SSG were already at 99%, and then it was just them getting kills.
Well, we got to see how this works on the side of, I think, Space Station and their main DPS or main tank, because Rachao was just chilling. Sadak really created a lot of like, hey, look at me pressure. And that did throw Renegades off. I wonder what the adjustment will be. And Vocal here taking a little bit more of a patient route towards the left, but Cassie going to scout them out. Good damage so far on Rachao, with the wall is still available, so he can throw that up if he ever gets scared.
Well, here's going to be what I see as kind of the difficulty right now, right? You're trying to do this long-range battle, and you're getting a lot of good damage, but now he's kind of given up his positional advantage. He's in an awkward spot. I think Victor would actually win this kind of trade-out fight. The same thing with the Cassie, so it's going to be very careful. Viral's gone down first. Now, I mean, 60-0. This is looking like almost a mirror of last fight.
I mean, this is a rotation. They're in the enemy's side. I mean, right now, SSG are happy to continue keeping them there. No one's touching the point, just trying to figure out what the game plan is, because it hasn't really manifested yet. Hero trying to climb onto it. Moonchopper yet to really touch onto the point. Gonna battle shout, get deleted there. Not much he could have done. And nice little setback to clean up Viral. Good stuff from Sadak. And SSG, again, capturing capture point 2 with ease.
You know, one of the things when I was watching, like, I guess when I was doing the reveal for Atlas, when I've been talking to him, like, mentioning it to Garrett and stuff like that, I was looking at it, I was like, the biggest thing about that rewind that I think is going to hurt players is that how are you going to remember where they were 4 seconds ago? Like, how are you going to see that positioning? And so far, I think every pro player that has played him almost has it trained in immediately. They know exactly where they need to aim. And, like, again, I think you mentioned it yesterday, he's been described as a very cerebral frontline.
Yeah.
If you know what you're doing with him, he's going to look not necessarily unstoppable, really, really big in terms of difficulty.
I mean, he just brings so much pressure, and I think one thing that he brings that other front lines can't compete with is burst. He brings burst and hit scan burst and range, and he has that with still great utility for the team. Despite, you know, oh my God. Can we look at those bulldozers, please? Because that dragon showed up and turned back around. That was disappointing, to say the least. Ares, I think, holding up the goggles for the barrage. Indeed, he does. He doesn't find a kill off of it. Shadow's already gone into the background, but the life exchange trying to help keep him alive. It's going to be a double for Invocal. And then FRZ God trying to shut him down, and he will. A double for FRZ God, and Sadok's still in the back line. Oh, no.
I mean, this is exactly the kind of positioning you want. You can see only 3 Tier 1 bulldozers on the side of Spacestation Gaming. That Dragon got burned because they have that much damage in general. But now the push is going on. A couple of kills going back and forth. Sadok, Freeze God getting taken out. And Rachao with no one to support him. It's going to cause a stall, but there's still a minute left.
And that's the good thing. There's still a minute left, and they can't zone far enough here to be able to push them all the way back. SSG, without some catastrophic failure, should be able to get back and get another touch. But that's a much better commitment. I think if SSG were to maybe tighten anything up, it's just maybe realizing when it's over, when they're not going to push, and just, you know, kind of getting back to 5 a little bit sooner, but they've got plenty of time on the clock now. Rachao almost makes it to the point. He's tanky enough, and we don't have Illusory Rift ready quite yet. 30% on that, so if anything, Midtown just trying to charge that up.
I mean, that's probably one of the best ults to have.
No.
If you get this point and you go 3-1, or even if it goes 2-2, that's going to be a round-changing ult. But right now, Freeze God gets a kill, going to be able to start opening up this door as Moonchopper not able to jump down. And the same thing could be said for Hero. He does not have the health bar to dance around this objective. It's walking in, and no one on Renegades is around to stop it.
I think it's just a lack of execution on the side of Renegades. Good positions, good things, but who touches when and where they go seem to be the issues, because a lot of these points feel like they just kind of are waltzed through or waltzed in terms of just gained by SSG. Nothing to take away from the Brazilians, who had a very disappointing day yesterday. Definitely trying to make a statement today against the Renegades.
Shots from Sadok are making a difference. That's one of the things you have to factor in. And I always mention, like, Inara having silent damage. This is loud damage, and it's still something that you might not be immediately aware of. Because if you're trying to dodge him, then Ares is going to hit you with the Victor. If you're trying to dodge both of them, then Freeze God is going to hit you with the Cassie. Like, there's almost nowhere safe to stand where you're not going to be taking chunks of damage in a lot of these shots.
And the way he's using it is so good. I mean, it's just so excellent the way he's going about it. Look at how clumped they are. And a setback is just going to keep him low. The Exile activated. Who's he going to go for? It's not bad to go for Moonchopper, but that's not who he wants. He gets Moonchopper, he gets Invocal, and he can't get the other. Oh, the barrage right out of it, but the Battle Shout is going to be there just in time.
Just being able to set yourselves up. There's going to be a good Dread Serpent making him walk into the wall. That's going to be 2 clean kills for Renegades. And with a comeback mechanic, they could hold on to it, but 93% for Space Station Gaming already picked up. They get rid of Rachao. They do win the fight, but it might not be enough to really reclaim this point. Renegades, or Space Station, might be able to get back in time.
Watch out for the clones. You got to watch out for Mid-Tow right now, because there's a lot of clones, a lot of different places. And he may be a little sneakier than most people think as far as being able to touch back. They do want to see if they can aggress, but like we said, fast cap, it's going to be very different. Good overpower, but did they let Rachao back on the horse? They absolutely did. He's contesting, and here's the Dragon, but we know how much Bulldozer is involved. It's not going to stop it from slaying down Ares.
Just being able to get that kill, get rid of one illusion, get rid of the front line. That's what you need right in that moment. Sadok not going to be able to do anything. They needed the burn down. They needed multiple members, but the fact that the 2 DPS were so staggered apart from each other made that a lot easier, and set up Invocal to set his team up for success.
And I love the switch up as well from Renegades. Clearly had not the right game plan going into round 1 and 2. But round 3, big change, and I like that. They take the right side, they take the punishment, and if anything, SSG bait themselves. Moonchopper goes into the battle shout, says, guys, I'm okay, don't worry about this. And there's not a full enough commitment when they're all clumped up from the side of SSG. That Renegades just clean up Sadak, then they go and keep cleaning everybody else up.
You know, against NIP, I will say I think it's an appropriate decision for Spacestation Gaming to ignore an Amani, right?
Sure.
To be like, you know what, we didn't practice it, we can't bring it out in this set. This is actually a set I wouldn't mind seeing them maybe try to go for it. Kazi is going to be high priority for him, but I mean, just looking at the damage that Amani does, just being able to kind of, again, double tap people. You hit 2 people with almost every single shot. Like, it makes it look so good. And if they can afford to pull it out here, I think they need to.
I mean, beautiful stuff here. Not to cut you off, but Shadow, I mean, double kill, beautiful stunts by Viral. Gotta give credit where credit's due. This guy had a great round, but he's continuing to keep everybody nice and healed up. Minute and 20 as well, so even if they get fully wiped here, they're going to have another chance almost assuredly. Invoke will get very low, but a nice burst from Viral will keep them topped off.
I mean, just keeping them in the game, almost able to tie this up. All they need is one good push. A Dragon could change it, but Freeze God gets the trade he needs. Still a minute left on the clock, so you're going to need a little bit more to make sure that time lasts longer to try and stall out the Renegades here. Admittedly, a really staggered kill onto a Baron will help buy you some time.
Yeah, and this is the right play. This is actually what Renegades did better than SSG. They realized we lost one. All right, we're about to lose this one. We all pull back, and they just don't have to give up all that ground. Frozen Guard, that's the one issue that can stop you from pushing. If you get pushed all the way back, you won't be able to touch the point. Still 38 seconds left. Nice, 900 damage there. He's going to poke back in Vocal, force some healing there, and away from anybody else who might need it. Exile is on the ready, so is Unstable Fisher, and so is the setback from Sadak on Atlas.
Just thinking about the setback, actually. They group up for overtime, even just the 2 front lines. Happen to step too close to the payload or too close to each other. That's going to be a very easy get you off the point, potentially burn you down depending on it. Of course, double kill from Ares will help make that go by a lot quicker. Almost a triple, but Freeze God going to get the kill onto Hero. And that's a stall, that's a defense. That's still a 3-2 score in favor of SSG.
But much more, I mean, happier for the Renegades as a result of getting that point. And Vocal definitely did what was needed to be done. I mean, this is a great angle as well. And Moonchopper's holding it. Give credit to that because he's got the shield there. He's doing this to protect the Dragon and Vocal. So this is great teamwork from them. If they could show more moments of this set could be a lot more interesting. But we'll see if they can repeat this because not sure SSG are going to make the same mistake they did last time by not capitalizing on those 4 low targets in the corner.
And I'm going to say courageous to ult right there.
Ambitious.
Like out in the open. Like it's not any cover other than a shield that is, you know, you're just hoping Moonchopper lives in front of you, right? No one's going to flank. And admittedly, I think you have that because there's no flank on the side of SSG. You can have that confidence a little bit. You could ult maybe even right here and still feel comfortable doing it, but it's a dangerous spot. And I think that's why you're seeing Invocal go mainly for the damage more. It's a lot safer to just do this than to risk a Dragon.
So what's their plan here? Because it's an overpower. What I'm curious about is here's the seismic crash, but it's looking clearly onto the background, or at least it just burst down Hero. He's doing a fantastic job of staying alive. And now it's 4v4. But it feels like Shadow is overcommitted here. He looks to fall soon, but he's found Ares on the Enlightenment. He's found a double kill. Shadow still makes it out. Are you kidding me? Beautiful plays from Shadow, and the Renegades find victory in this round as well.
I'm replaying that in my mind. There's no reason Shadow should get 1 kill there, let alone 2. Like, that is him playing well, and that is maybe Spacestation not giving him the credence that he needs, and that's the kind of thing you get punished for in this kind of scenario. That overpower kill on Sadak early doesn't hurt you as much as I think it could. At double kill from Leon, burns you down.
Oh, just got to the point and wasn't enough. To say things would have been different, I'm not sure, because the Dragon was coming out anyways, and now it's on the point. Now Renegades have tied it up, and now they can win. SSG have again struggled against the Amani, and the rest of Renegades have made such great adjustments to keep themselves in this matchup, sacrificing Hero for the betterment of the cause. And boy, oh boy, you have to give a shout out to Shadow, who, I mean, against all odds, with about 20 health to his name, gets a double kill there on the healer and the DPS.
You know, this is one of those moments where I think, or one of those games in general, matchups between these two teams where supports are going to make a big difference because Viral has been, again, phenomenal overall.
Great job.
And he's been being able to, again, use that utility. It's not even always the healing numbers. You can see Ying outnumbering him. Most of that probably falling down to the ult, but it's going to be the stuns that Moldova comes up, the setup that he has for his team, which then in turn makes this come down to, yeah, the battle of the front lines, but Khan, I want to say, can kind of match overall damage in terms of Atlas. Maybe not quite the utility, but definitely overall the damage numbers. Barrick, Anara going to be able to kind of dance around with each
I like
other.
that.
Amani and Amara.
Imani and Amara.
I can't, now I'm going to just mess it up all day. Either way, they can match each other. I think this matchup does absolutely come down to like the DPS. And when you're looking at it right now, in my eyes, Shadow and Invocal are playing lights out compared to what we're seeing out of Freeze God and Ares.
Yeah, I mean, and it's, to me, what's impressive is the way they've changed as a team mid-game. I commend these teams who can do this without having to take a game, lose it, totally adjust, or without having to go back home and go completely back to the drawing board. They have a lineup. They just take the fight differently, and it starts to work, and they keep doing what's working. SSG now have to counter-adapt to that because, you know, Invocal, Shadow, they're going to keep taking the same angles. Hero's going to do the same thing until they make them change again. Pretty decent defense, though. This is actually an offensive defense score, just for those who may not know. They have pushed Renegades all the way back, and so 20 seconds left. It looks pretty unlikely with a kill on the Shadow here that this will not be going to another round.
And the other thing that I'm looking at is the fact that, first off, Imani is lights out in terms of her damage above a Cassie, above a Leon. Like, those two are normally the ones that you're in the conversation of top 2 damage, and they're always the ones making the big difference. And whether you want to say maybe Ares and Freeze God aren't quite hitting
Let's see those numbers
the same
as well,
amount of damage overall, but you're looking at Imani as, you know, I think she was at like 144,000, like she was 20 to 30,000 over this Cassie.
Wow.
And I mean, still sitting up there now, 151,000 compared to the 100, not even 120 put out by Freeze God.
Yeah, this is an incredible factor here, and you know, for damage champions, we don't usually see it that outpaced. And it's not like he hasn't died this game. You know, 11 and 9, he's died more than every single person on the side of SSG. So he's been having much more downtime in comparison. 18 and 7 for Freeze God. My goodness, that man is playing out of control as well, but you've got to find a way to put a lid on Invocal's Imani to control the pressure from the Dragon, and it is available. 5 ults on the side of Renegades, 5 ults on the side of SSG.
Dragon is probably where my eyes are. What can Invocal do with it? The damage he does normally is going to be big, but there they have the scouts. The vision is going to be good, but the shots from Invocal are just so clean. And again, being able to spread that damage, hitting 2 people essentially per shot,
again,
just makes it so good.
Same thing. And they're not going to let him go. He can't set back if you don't let him go. It's beautiful. And Spacestation Gaming aren't going to retreat. At this point, I would have just said, you know, maybe just white reset. Rachao's going to go down. They're in the back line. How far can this Dragon make it? The only thing going for them is that she is a little slower in the sky. And it's going to be a kill again. I mean, I'm baffled that they did the exact same thing. Beautiful adjustments, though, from Hero and Renegades.
I mean, being able to get that much uptime, that much control, that much comfort out of the Dragon, I mean, that's 78%. Right now, it's 78 to 60, so you're going to have to find a kill. You're going to have to get onto the objective fast if you're SSG.
They got a touch. I'm not sure if they can. My goodness, look at Ares. He doesn't know what happened.
Yeah, we've had discussions in the past about metas changing, favoring some teams on land, hurting others. Right now, this meta has shifted. Imani has come in, and SSG didn't do the right homework. They aren't choosing the talent that we've seen be the most successful on Atlas, and following up with that, they are not playing the Imani, which seems to be playing a huge role here for Invocal. Do you expect that's going to, like, is that a must ban at this point?
It has to be. If you can't play it, you got to ban it. I mean, I don't even think that was the issue, though, Gore, to be honest. I feel like they just took the fight. Okay, so they took the fight 2 ways. It was awesome. And then, at the end of the day, it just shifted. And Renegades figured it out. They went 4 right. They sent Hero on the point. Then they overpowered Sadak. Every single time. Guys, I'm not sure if SSG feel good about that loss, because it feels like it was definitely something they could have adjusted on. But Renegades, they've got to feel good about that win. Hats off to Invocal, hats off to Shadow, hats off to Moonchopper for some excellent overpowers, and hats off to Hero and Viral for being the unsung heroes here. Great healing from Viral and Hero. Basically, his job was to go on the point and die and fight 5 members of SSG, and he did a great job of that. We're going to send it to a quick break, guys, but we'll be right back with Game 2.
Oh, welcome back. Again, a short break as we come through. Actually swapped some things up here. I'm still sitting in my chair, but we changed out Evan for Dave to be able to come in and kind of go through SSG and Renegades with me.
That's right.
And so, you know, I guess you got to watch that first game from the green room. Nice, uninterrupted. I think pretty much
got to kick
just
back,
chilling,
chatting with all the fine folks in the Mixer chat, and really enjoyed game one. I was surprised. I mean,
I think all of us
we were all a little
honestly
surprised. I've always said this about Renegades, in that they've always been like so close, in the sense that they have the talent, they have the skill, that they've shown that they're so close to kind of jumping that edge. And I mean, starting out game one with a win, especially against SSG, that's huge for them.
I mean, being able to come into this, I was saying kind of towards the end of that last map, where it's just, is it going to be the fact that maybe SSG aren't up on the meta? Maybe Renegades just happen to look really, really good with Amani. Frozen Guard was the Renegades map pick, though. So them winning their map pick, even in a 4-3, is good for them, but also not as telling, I think, is what we're about to see. Serpent Beach, this is going to be where SSG wanted to be able to come. They chose it kind of before the set with the coin flip to be able to come here. And I like the adjustments they make. They say, you know what, Atlas isn't working for us, and Monty keeps working for them. Let's just get rid of
both. Let's just take them both off the board. I like the Serpent Beach pick here. SSG we've seen kind of both sides of this coin for them. The first set that they played actually in the PPL, after arriving a little late, they played Envy here, I remember, their first week, and they crushed Envy. Freeze God had like double quadra kills in that game, and they just went off. So they've shown that they can perform really well on this map. But then yesterday against NIP, although I think that's maybe an unfair comparison, because NIP is just on another world right now. But SSG, they showed yesterday that they have some chinks in the armor here. But I like going to this map. I like their odds here. I think they have a good chance to bounce back after game one, but Renegades, they have the momentum.
So last game, Genos Eevee banned by the Renegades, gets kind of scot-free here since no one wants to ban it. Very big pickup for Mitao and Freeze God. Very huge pickup for Viral and Shadow as well. Eevee probably, this is one of the few sets where you're going to have two players that look phenomenal on her, and they're constantly fighting each other for it. So grabbing that first looks strong for the Renegades. A Leon in response, Cassie on the other side. SSG gets to choose their blaster. They go for the Drogos, which we have seen do really well here for Freeze God.
That's an understatement, I think. I think really well is a bit of an understatement for Freeze God. I mean, I think I'm remembering correctly in that it was double quadras his first game back here against Envy. He's a casually good player. I think he's gold or platinum or something in ranked. I think he kind of flies under the radar. But I love giving him the Drogos here. But on the opposite side, I really like the way the Renegades went with this draft. Now that Amani and Atlas are just off the board, they go back to more of a traditional feeling lineup in the Genos, Eevee, Cassie. I mean, let's not forget, that's one of the highest damage output trios you can kind of get in this game. So I really like the way they went. But my eyes are firmly on Freeze God and the Drogos, and I'm excited to see what he brings out.
I think this matchup is going to be very heavy. Drogos on Freeze God versus the Eevee for Shadow. Which one's going to make the big difference, right? Which one finds those kills? Which one makes those plays? And of course, that means it kind of falls a step back. Ares on Leon, again, someone who has taken into this role very well, but how is he going to fare against Invocal on Cassie? I mean, Invocal, we've been talking about his aim for weeks now. He is so phenomenal, so it's going to be a difficult matchup, to say the least.
I've always kind of said this about Renegades, in the sense that they have so many bright spots, but just haven't really been able to morph it together into one shining complete light just as of yet. We saw a little bit of that in the first game, but Invocal's always been the guy who's kind of stood out as one of the better players on this team. So I look forward to seeing what he can bring out, and hopefully they can lean on him and utilize some of his high-powered aim and leverage maybe a second win here. But yet again, Spacestation Gaming, they find themselves on the point first, 42% already. This is kind of the strategy they look at, Gore. I think they're fine to just jump on the point, and then if they get some kills on the back end, they just capture the first point with ease.
And that's what they did last game. I mean, that's exactly how they got it, but they didn't lose first blood. Shadow comes in with a kill right there. And on to Ares, again, that's going to be the matchup I think you need to look at. Who's going to be able to do what on these DPS duos? Because right now, Renegades, like when it comes to frontline, you can mash your skulls against each other as much as you want.
That's right.
It is the fact that I will say Renegades, out of the two of them, have had, in my eyes, maybe a more consistent damage duo. Shadow in Vocal, if you discount them even slightly, they will tear your team apart.
You have to keep your eyes on them at all times. You can't look the other direction because, like you said, one of the two of them, especially on these two champions, the Eevee and the Cassie.
Where they're comfortable?
I think Burst is a bit of an understatement for these two, so you have to keep your eyes on it. It's about 60 and some change percentage points apiece here for both teams. Only one kill in the game so far, if I remember correctly. Shadow's getting aggressive here. The Ice Storm's going to come out, and that's going to buy some damage onto Barrack as well as the Fernando, so that's a good Ice Storm there from Shadow, just buying themselves some space. But the health bars are starting to get refilled. Renegades, they don't get a touch, Space Station. Renegades actually go up 1-0 here. And there weren't any kills in that team fight. They just zone out properly, and Space Station are able to get a touch.
I mean, whether it comes down to what, I mean, Freeze God gets 2 kills right there. It finally comes through, but I mean, it took so long for them to be able to find that. And one of the things I wanted to highlight about Drogos coming into this was the fact that for this patch, you've had a little bit of movement change. Like Propel 3 was being run by Freeze God here. But the thing about Propel 3 and the thing about Drogos for this one is that more momentum is going to kind of carry over from his thrust into his jetpack. So you can kind of ski a little more, not exactly what it used to be back in the day, but you can have that kind of playstyle change. And I'm sure, again, something they practice on Space Station Gaming. They love the Drogos pick. But whether or not that's going to make the big difference for them, right? Like, if that can't control 2 champions on the side of Renegades right now, which is going to be the most difficult thing I think they've ever had to do, Lockdown in Vocal and Shadow, Renegades right now, I think, are actually going to be Space Station Gaming's kryptonite.
I mean, the momentum's in their favor. 1 minute and 20 seconds left. The payload's starting to move. The kills are actually coming up red in the scoreboard. Let's take a quick look at the slash lines just to see where things stand up to this point. And Vocal Undying, 3-1 on Shadow as well. Those are the 2 guys that you keyed in on. Freeze God really the shining light here for Space Station. He has 4 kills and out of the 5 on his side. Shadow adds another one, make it 4-1 here for him. The kills start rolling in favor of red. This could actually go through. Freeze God's able to answer back. The Immortal's gonna come out. That's going to top off Hero for the moment. Keep him alive. Keep this payload where it's at. Rochelle times it perfectly, though, and drops Hero on the backside. He did use a Dome Shield to kind of stabilize where the payload is at the moment. And it looks like this fight is stalled out at the moment.
Dome Shield for Immortal, a worthwhile trade, I'd say, for SSG.
Yeah, I think so.
Especially with 40 seconds left, it means you have a little bit of time that you can buy. Right now, you're looking at charging up that overpowered as fast as possible. Kind of keep, again, get FRZ God very comfortable, get Ares comfortable, keep these guys in their zone. Because, I mean, you're looking at maybe a meta not being in their favor, but then you go back to this and you say, well, the draft didn't really go in your favor in my eyes. And then on top of that, you're having to play against a team after a big loss yesterday, a 4-0 that you didn't expect to be a 4-0. Playing around with the map, going around, but the mid-air shot from Shadow.
This is going to go through.
They're just locked in.
This looks like it's going to go in. The kills are all coming up in Renegade's favor right now. Some calculated aggression on their side, and this is looking really good. Sadak kind of the last line of defense here, and Renegades find themselves up 2-0. On Serpent Beach, Gore.
You know,
I'm still surprised. I was surprised that they won game 1 4-3, but the fact that they come out now 2-0 up on SSG on Serpent Beach, that's even more surprising to me.
I think we need to screen these jerseys, make sure nothing like, you know, no performance enhancing jerseys allowed in the building. All right, they come through, and I mean it looks good.
It looks really good.
By the way, thumbs up to you. I forgot to mention this. Now I can. Our interview, my throw to your pickup with literally no connection, both times, what I ended on was the first thing you asked. That made me real happy.
Well, Gore, we just have that je ne sais quoi. We have that whatever it is, and it just works out. I was joking with them. I mean, I don't want to, well, I probably shouldn't say it. I made a joke about, I'll just say it. I made a joke with them about, now I'm going to jinx them. The issue is I'm going to jinx them now. It is called synergy. That's what Gore and I, we don't have the synergy for vocabulary, but we have synergy as far as the mentality goes. I had made a joke with Renegades. I said, well, if you win today, you know you can't wash these jerseys. You know, if you win in a jersey, you don't wash until you lose in them. So, well, they could start these jerseys off on a one-win streak.
I'm going to go ahead and tell you, some of these, well, actually not the PPL players. Sometimes at LAN, though, there's some unique smells that will come through.
Powtech was like, dude, why'd you just put that in their head? Now they're actually going to do it when we win, and the house is going to smell horrible. But that's besides the point. They still have a couple games to go. 93% and climbing for SSG. They're on pace here to start off with another point, or I should say their first point on Serpent Beach. Some kills start to go in their favor. And this was kind of, I don't know, this was just sort of a slow burn of a team fight here. Didn't necessarily have high impact. I think that's where Renegades are really thriving in this match. You might agree, but it's sort of the in-your-face aggression that SSG hasn't really been able to absorb, and this just seemed like a slower rolling team fight, and they were just chilling on the point the entire time.
It came down to kind of like, I want to say 2, maybe 3 things, but it was overpowered kill early on, and it was FRZ God being able to find his zone, right? Exactly what he wanted as the Drogos, which in my eyes right now, like again, Aries has made this switch to DPS, and he's made it look pretty smooth.
Good angle.
But you still have to dance around the fact that he's not known for being a DPS player, right? He's still working on that aspect of his game. And so being able to bring in the Leon, the Cassies as well as he does is impressive, but expanding past that's going to be big. Right now, you're relying on Freeze God to carry you through this game. Like, you're setting him up for success. Your team is going to make sure he does that, but it does come down to if he misses a shot, if he misses a kill, that could break this map for him.
It could. He was. I loved the angle he was playing just a moment ago. Here's the Dragon Punch. He finds Moonchopper with it. They're on offense, so this could start to roll in their favor. He times the shot correctly, but the 1v1, it does end up going in his favor. So Freeze God finds a couple now on the Drogos, looking for 3. Around the corner goes viral, but he cleans up the Drogos. So it's a 2-for-1 trade in favor of Space Station, but the respawn advantage is on the side of Renegades. They're coming back at a closer radius to this payload. They can get back in the fight sooner. Moonchopper, as such, is right back up top here, Gore. Some ultimates online. There's the Dread Serpent. It's going to send the Fernando running. Hero's going to be the first casualty of this fight here. And the payload is so close to going through. A clean team sweep could push this one in.
All they need is the kill, though, and this is where the question comes through. You're only going to tie it up. You don't even need the ults. Renegades, you get 2 frontline kills, and all of a sudden no one's there.
I was going to say, how did they not get a touch? And then I kind of thought back and remembered Hero just got cleaned up immediately. The Dread Serpent goes onto the frontliner. And then they drop Moonchopper as well, and I mean, I guess you could argue that Cassie and Eevee could go in for a touch, but then they get, they get destroyed immediately. So Space Station with some really important picks there, helping them push that through. They found a way to stabilize this one. I think if that goes in the opposite direction, if it's a 3-1 here, I mean, that's a 2-point swing in this case. Renegades would have been sitting pretty. Now we're all tied up here. Freeze got 12 and 3 on the Drogos, the driving force now for SSG.
And what we saw at the start of the last round actually can't happen here, but it was one quick burn kill from Freeze God, followed by an overpower off the map and a Dragon Punch on the point, right? 3 really, really fast kills coming out from Renegades in a row, almost immediately to give them control. They don't have that coming into this. They do still have an overpower. They're about to have a Dragon Punch once he hits a couple more shots here for Freeze God, but look at this rotation. I mean, it's been great for Renegades. The overpower is going to time him out.
The overpower is actually not good for a kill here. Sadak times it, doesn't find the angle to throw him off the map. Actually, there's no damage on the back end from Space Station either. So Sadak actually trades out his life as well as an overpower. But we see Space Station, they tend to prefer to just kind of chill on the point and then fight after. 96% here. Some kills are going to start rolling in favor of Blue. Shadow answers back. Rashao's going to get a kill and trade out his life for it. There's the Ice Storm. But Aries is going big now on the Leon, finds 2, and that's all they need. The Dragon Punch as well, maybe a little bit overkill, but just going to secure point number 3. Space Station look really good in this point fight. And it's such an interesting strategy, I think, Gore. They just they hang out on the point, they send the Barrack to the point, they find 1 pick, but by the time the Renegades are able to fight back, it's already 96% on the point.
And part of it is there's a Dome Shield that comes down at like 80% there for SSG, which is just, this is going to buy me space. You're not going to come in here and fight me. Like, you can't come in here and fight me. This is going to just do what we need and give us time. And then they had like Soldier Sentinel Freeze God flying in the air, just like, if anyone steps on this point, you're going to get hit with a rocket, like just scanning the area. And the minute he looks away, you see someone from Renegades jump down, immediate flick back to shooting him down. Like, I think it was Hero who was trying to touch. And then, yeah, you lose Barrack, but he bought enough time throughout all of that, not only for them to get very high up to 99%, but for everybody to respawn.
And they get the point as such. Freeze God loves this little angle, and I love it too. It worked out really well for him last time. There were 4 members of Renegades kind of up top in that little corridor in there, and he was able just to fire, spit, and salvo time after time and find plenty of damage. He's playing the angle so well. He's showing us why he's one of the best Drogoses in the world. 1 minute and 8 seconds left here. The payload pretty close to going through. Pretty close to what we saw last round as well, where They were able to find so much early time. Ares is going to clean up Shadow here, so a little bit of space starting to open up, and Vokal's going to stop the bleeding, keep things from going too far out of control here. We talk about the Drogos and Freeze God, but you cannot forget about Ares on this Leon either. You know, one goes down, the other picks up right where you left off.
And that's exactly what it is right now when it comes down to it. The Kinesi yesterday,
Nice
I wasn't
shot.
a big fan of, but his Leon, I could watch Ares play this all day. There's something about a good Leon, and the way he plays it that's kind of different from what we would see maybe in the hands of Invocal, the hands of Rock Monkey. He just is a little more relaxed, you know? Now, couple clean kills, that's all they need. They just push that one in.
That is all they need. Game 2 goes in favor of Space Station. That was looking real scary there for a moment. You know what it was, Gore? The moment I talked about them not washing their jerseys if they win is when Space Station came back and win 4 straight points. I didn't want to say it.
They heard it and they were like, no,
I didn't want to say
smell.
it. I was so hesitant to bring it up. I'm such a superstitious person. I didn't want to bring it up, but I did. And you know, you can pin this one firmly on me. That's entirely my fault. But Space Station, they're able to flip it. They're able to get 4 straight points here. And they looked really good doing it.
Well, you can see through the stats, everything that they had. Looking pretty good on the side of Space Station, but again, I would say relied heavily on Freeze God to kind of save them and maybe salvo the wounds, right? Keep everything going for them as they push through. But that was very good from SSG. And again, guys, we are going to actually cut to a quick break as we get things going for map number 3. We're going to rest our voices for a little bit, but you can rest your laurels looking at the fact that it's 16-4 for Freeze God.
That's right.
The real star is here.
I've been perfecting this look for months now.
To me, fashion is more than a look. It's attitude and lots of punching.
How's my new jacket look? Let's get this show started.
Your street style skins are out there. You should get them now while you can. I think it's a buy 3, get 1. So if you get the Ashe, the Maeve, and the Sky, you will unlock the Ying, which is my personal favorite of all the 3.
Whose
that comes
isn't
through.
it?
people who really like Ashe, Maeve, or Skye.
That's true.
The Skye one and the Ashe one, I think, are tied for second in my eyes.
The Ashe one takes a clear second for me. Maeve comes right. Actually, Skye comes after that. I actually like Maeve the least, but this is like saying that I like, brownies the least out of ice cream, and cookies. They're all something that I would eat gladly.
You're still going to love
Yes, I would love any offers of those for me at any point in time. So yeah, pick up the Street Style. They look cool. Really cool.
Yeah, I'm actually really excited to see them. I've been playing around with them a little bit after like work and everything going in, so it's been fun to see them. I am a big fan of all of the animals, but we are still in this set. Renegades Space Station Gaming tied up 1-1, a little closer than I think I would have said coming into this.
Oh,
but
much.
Each team has won their map.
Yeah, and banning Atlas and Amani, I think this is a good call from Kresnik and the guys. Sometimes you got to do it. You got to put respect on this. And I don't know how you work it into your lineup. I mean, it appears that the only thing separating it is either thinking the champion is bad, therefore you didn't want to, or thinking that, maybe we didn't prioritize this as valuable. A little bit different, because thinking it's bad and useless is one thing, or thinking it's going to be a game changer for us is another. Clearly, a few teams thought it would be a game changer, and they have that in the pocket. SSG now leave the Imani open again.
The Imani is open. Torvald is also open right now. And I would say, honestly, as Renegades, I'm thinking maybe you grab the Torvald first. You let them have Khan, even though SSG are good with it. And then when you pair a Torvald bubble with an Imani, think of the Frostbomb damage. Think of her damage in general.
A Khan Inara for SSG on Brightmarsh, that just flows too... I feel like that's too strong, and I think that's why they're looking at this. They need something that's going to be able to deal with it. The Khan single-handedly dissuades the Inara, because she's the easiest one to overpower on this map. She has no movement ability to get back on.
I will point out that Genos Eevee ban, same bans they had for game 1, the same first 2 picks they had for the last map. So Renegades recognizing again how important Eevee is for Freeze God, how important Genos has been for their team and their composition and kind of the meta SSG want to play. And I think they're going to play around, potentially have this Torvald play that role. The problem I have is,
give your king a big
do you put it on Rachao and kind of risk him not being your point, or do you put it on Sadak?
I think that's the big question. I think it depends on if the Inara goes, because they're going to get Inara and Khan right now if they want it. I don't see why you wouldn't take that, especially since they've kind of all-in on this Torvald. They're going to grab the Damba. But my big thing is that SSG with a Torvald Bomb King, if Inara does pass through, it could even be Barrack. I think that would be something very comfortable in SSG's pocket if they go for the Barrack.
You are not welcome
here! But
here.
They're going to have to go for it, because they're going to lose the Inara like we talked about earlier. They're going to prioritize the Damba, which is the best pairing for the Inara. Gives Khan a little bit extra movement speed. A deadly lineup for Renegades so far. Definitely deadly for SSG.
Don't hesitate to ask.
But they're going to have to make it work with the Barrack. And I think that then should go to Rachao, and Sadak should be the one to flex onto the Torvald. That's just my opinion. I'm not coaching their team. I just feel like that would be a better utilization here.
And the best in terms of damage as well. When you look at it, Barrack, and specifically Sadak on Barrack, can kind of buy a lot of space, a lot of room for your team.
Yeah.
Sadak on Torvald is just going to be a bubble machine. So whichever way they run it, I think, no matter what, it kind of... the same thing Torvald does all the time. You kind of lose one of your presences that you would have, but you're supposed to gain that with that field study bubble. So that's really what they're looking for.
And BK, it's great. And Renegades, one thing they don't really have is height. They do in the Imani Frostfire Glide, but it's not the same burst height that you would expect on something like Pip. I like Ruckus here, and we're going triple tank. This is what they hovered last round, or 2 rounds ago. This is something SSG, I think, are taking out of the NIP book, and it might just work.
I honestly think that is going to potentially be a Ruckus, or an Ares Torvald, a Sadak Ruckus, and then like a Rachao on the Barrack. Like, you still have your point tank presence, you still have your flex tank presence, and you say, Ares, you're great, man.
Ares and
this
FRZ
game,
God,
you're just going to be
have
a shield machine.
That's what you say, Ares, FRZ God, have fun.
go hang out.
Go hang out. Go have fun.
Be a damage duo, but work on your synergy. Get the bubbles up.
You have to say that this is definitely inspired from something NIP have shown works really well. And this is something that SSG, from my memory, are pulling out the first time this season.
Yeah.
So
from what I've
we'll
seen.
see if the triple tank works. Brightmarsh is a good map to work it as we head down. Renegades here trying to take the lead yet again. Who would have thought jerseys could do so much?
And, you know, I mean, Dave, with the threat of them potentially not washing them if Renegades win this set. Again,
I don't want to
we've
see
had
them in studio,
some
actually.
interesting smells in this studio in the past, and I will say deodorant will always help you every day. Nice shower deodorant is how I like to start my mornings. This has been a PSA.
This has been an Old Spice PSA. Old Spice. Get it now. Oh, that's funny. All right, so let's see. We were
Oh, no, it's actually
we
Richao.
were a little on the money, but Richao seems to be the Torvald. At least we've got Sadak on that aggressive frontline role, and I think that's where maybe the conversation was, because Sadak says, you know, Barrick again, me, you know, that's not how we succeed. I need to be on something a little tanky with some pressure. And Aries says, you know what, I'll go ahead and take this Barrick. And look at the damage he's doing already. I mean, he's hitting Fat Cassie numbers right there, basically 600. And 560 now onto Shadow, who's getting pressured out. Aries doing a lot of work here, and I love how he's not really worried about staying on the point. He wants to, but if he sees a shot, he's going for it. Oh!
Beautiful dash reset
Just
being able to
barely.
come out, but there's going to be a firebomb right behind him. He has to be careful where he's dancing, and that Tyra mark is going to be the one thing that I think can be the saving grace against SSG, right? When you're fighting front lines, nothing helps your team burn them down faster than Tyra just saying, hey, as long as you shoot Barrick, he dead.
But you, yeah, he dead. You know what? No one has really smelt or seen Old Spice or not FRZ God in this matchup quite yet. You know, they've been shooting kind of calmly, I'll say. Nice frost bomb to get the root off. But look at this, FRZ God threatening to go low. He keeps getting the shields up. Shadow finds him low again. He's going to just use that bubble to maneuver over. Hero could be facing a lot of pressure. He somehow survives. Now he's got to gut around the corner, and he will. 200 health. Oh, 600 finally. FRZ God finds the first blood, but the second blood goes away of Invocal.
And I love the way
missed
that
that.
SSG play that, though, because they look at it, and while we're watching FRZ God, it's just, cool, nothing's happening over here. You're hitting a shield. There's two people locking you down. You two are locking them down. And then they finally say, we just need to get rid of this Inara. Like, just come over here, kill Inara, and then see what happens. Yeah, it was a one-for-one trade, but then immediately they were able to answer again. And I think the win condition on SSG, much like last map, but maybe a lot easier to execute this time around, is make Freeze God pop off.
Well, if anything, Freeze God should be frozen a little bit more. I'm seeing Invocal miss a couple of the roots there, which actually will make a big difference, and that's 2 in a row that might have actually resulted in some kills. But overall, this is SSG saying we want to enable our guy, the one we know has gotten all the headlines since the beginning of this squad. We've added these beautiful members. It's been a team effort, but Freeze God, FRZ God, that's who you think of when you look at this roster. And they're just saying, you know what, we're just going to, listen, I'm not playing. I'm looking at you. I'm allowing you to play.
And after the way that first map went, honestly, this is what I need to see Spacestation do. Even, honestly, looking at last map being a 4-2 and, like, starting off rough against the Renegades for their Serpent Beach map, this is what you need out of SSG, I think, for them, not only them to instill confidence in themselves, but for, I mean, anybody watching the league to kind of make sense right now.
Yeah. Big kill from Hero. I mean, to be the front line and to get that kill, that's something that you'd hope for from your DPS. And just because he does that, he opens up so much space. I mean, SSG are totally going to collapse here. We talk about Invocal and Imani's not really going into the fire stance. Part of it is the utility and the control with the slows from the autos. And of course, that root, that when you do hit is deadly.
The thing about Space Station Gaming's lineup is it's a 4-protect-1, right? It is 3 people who are meant to not die, with a healer who's meant to keep them alive through all scenarios, with an ult that will keep you alive through all scenarios.
Yeah.
And their goal is, again, make this Bomb King work. But the thing is like, much like that last fight, you kill him off in time and you make a big difference.
Wait a second. Maybe just got a little under-aggressive there. He realized the dragon was coming out. Maybe just wanted to start the retreat. That's how powerful this thing can be in Vocal. I guess good counterplay there. And in a very safe vantage point. I mean, how are they going to get to him? This is a very nice way to use the dragon from Invocal. And then he's back to safety. Really, really strong counterplay. I think that King Bomb was a missed opportunity for sure.
God, that Frost Bomb is so good in terms of damage and control, and it's kind of keeping Freeze God locked down right now. They're going to be coming around. There was a Hyper Beam that came out to try and buy some room, and it's going to result in a kill, but it's a trade overall. Does the silence work? Does the Nullify keep you in an advantageous position? Those bubbles need to come out, and you need to save everybody, but you just can't.
I mean, there's just not a lot being brought to, in my opinion, as well. I'd love to take a look at some of these numbers, as we will when we head into the end of the round, which it looks like will be unfolding here, as I don't know if this overtime will take away. It certainly won't. But how's the impact of Sadak on this Ruckus? I mean, that was the pick. That was the triple tank. They went Torvald, which we said, Sadak on that, or, you know, Rachao on that, and then Sadak on the point tank. We like, really, Rachao on these point tanks. And it's 2 and 3. It's doing middle of the pack damage. Still needs to be proven, I think, to work a little bit better, but it's definitely not bad. But I think the pacing maybe is the key. They played that so slowly, and when we saw NIP use this, and because they are the team that kind of brought Triple Tank back this year, we're using them as a reference, they were so aggressive. Pressure, pressure, pressure. Alex was up there on the barrack, and we just saw so much continuation from that. I wonder how they'll adjust this round.
I mean, I want to see maybe a little more kind of tempted aggression from Shadow and Invocal. Like, don't go too far, but don't be afraid to press into them. I think the two of them together, especially with a Mark, Amani can do ridiculous damage, ridiculous control, and that's where I want to see. Invocal was locked down a lot this last game in this area by Freeze God. It was the Bomb King that kind of kept him isolated, but if he can move forward, if he can get into maybe a high ground position, it's going to make things look maybe a little cleaner overall.
Oh, but Sadak is in the back line, and this is a problem, but they've got healing, and that's the thing. Hero finds 2. Are you kidding me? This front line is popping off. We talked about him before the game got started, and he's only made more headlines. Hero with another couple of huge kills, forcing the Dome Shield from Space Station and Ares. Sadak trying to get in on the action gore, but he's going to go down as well.
I mean, doing whatever they can. They move back
little spray.
60 to 21% right now. Space Station Gaming have the advantage, but the damage is just so good on the side of Renegades. It's making it a little more difficult to get back into this point. Those bubbles are not lasting anywhere near as long, and now with an ult coming through as well, the stun not going to connect. The bubble comes through for the King Bomb, and he's going for the backline. He wants viral.
And he just, I mean,
nothing.
Oh man.
He gets nothing.
The slither happens, and it's beautiful play by Viral, but you have to anticipate it on the side of FRZ God. Space Station Gaming on the back foot again with a comp that's supposed to apply a ton of pressure, and yet it's the solo front line, the Inara here, doing the role of 2, finding 2 kills early. Hero, huge plays, absolutely the hero today. What's he gonna do here? Got to go for the Earthen Guard, he finds it, and even a couple of bombs. Sadak's the one who gets low, and this should be an easy cleanup, and it looks like Moonchopper's going for it, and he finds it, and Hero again trying to slay the King, and it's going to be Moonchopper with the double. Renegades look to be off to the races.
I mean, doing exactly what they need. That's gonna be a nice toss for the control. Barrack, Ares can only do so much, and this triple front line worked out for the first point. Didn't quite clean up this second one the way I think they thought it would. And even with, I want to say maybe a little bit of early pressure from Space Station Gaming to kind of push out Renegades, the aggression coming down not only from Invocal but from Shadow, but from Hero of all places to be able to find those kills to open up the door. Well, made a big difference.
This is exactly what I remember talking about today, saying that Hero is played so well. He's a guy that is underrated.
Yeah.
And if anything, he could be more aggressive to make these plays a little bit more. And he's done exactly that. And it's just been great to see. He's really taking the task amongst himself to be that one. And he may go down here. He's on a 13 streak. Actually, no, Viral's going to bail him out again. What a performance he's had today. King Bomb doesn't worry about it. Grumpy Bomb, excuse me. And he's just going to chase down FRZ God. He's like, you're getting bubbled. You're getting healed within the Illusory Rift. But I'm a Nara. And yeah, Nara's finally going to bite the dust there. Maybe a little bit more, but I love the confidence from the young man.
I love the fact that what we're seeing out of Renegades right now is I'm going to say, based on what I've seen out of SSG, I don't know if this is a meta shift that they just weren't prepared for. Again, if yesterday shook them up too much,
it could have,
or if Renegades have been putting in the work, or maybe a mix of all three, because right now, this is a better Renegades than I think we've gotten to see this split, and I'm happy to kind of see it come back around. Because, I mean, again, you look at it, first week they beat Kanga. Granted, it probably wasn't the best Kanga roster coming into that first week.
Wasn't full-form Kanga, right?
But
yeah.
They still got that win. That's the one win they have. If they get one here, this is a huge upset.
Oh, no, this is big for the league implications as well, because dropping points to Renegades, when you're going to look at the other 3 teams, probably not, that are competing at least right now in Na'Vi, NIP, and VP at a high level in terms of the lack of losses. So I think this is something that Renegades could play spoiler to a big conversation here around the Brazilians, but we've still got a lot of time to go. This payload has been moving forward, and they finally just kind of collapse onto SSG. The Torvald, again, not been working out this time in the triple tank, not working out as well.
This Amani is just making strides. Like, Invokal's been so good on this champion, and
I mean,
it's
ban
been
it,
kind
dude.
of quiet overall in this
Yeah.
game, right? And it's just like you run this risk. They ban the Atlas overall instead of the Imani. And again, it's causing them so much trouble. I mean, you can get a couple of return kills, but how much is that going to do if you're getting melted every step of the way?
Wow, Hero with 2 more, Moonchopper with another. These front lines, they're absolutely going in. Renegades 3-1. You can't say it enough. The effort, the communication, the confidence, and the jerseys.
I mean, if they can keep up this path, right? So I'm looking at this, again, grand scheme of things. First map, Renegades pick, they win. Second map, SSG's map, Renegades lose. Third
Well,
map, Renegades pick, they
Yeah,
win.
yeah.
And if you keep that pattern going, when it comes down to a game 7, the Renegades get to close it out. So if they can kind of keep that up, if they're comfortable enough on 4 maps, admittedly, through all of this, they can close it out. But again, you're having to look at maybe some mistakes come down from SSG every time in the draft. I think that's where most of these games have been won.
I mean, you're right. But I think it's also, Gore, just the fact that we've seen SSG struggle against Imani. And the game that they didn't have to play against Imani when she was banned in Game 2, SSG won. I mean, it's not much of a mystery to me at this point. Stats are clearly saying that when Imani's against you, you lose. It's happened 4 times in the last 2 days. And Shadow also just playing so well, flexing onto all these hit scans. You don't usually think of that as your blaster player main to be able to do it so successfully. But Leon and this Tyra, he's done well. But Rachel maybe with a little bit of a hyper beam, able to set things up for him.
Nice
Oh, look
overpower.
at that. On to Ying.
Going to be probably the best kill you can get.
Beautiful.
I believe Illusory Rift has already been popped, so that just means it's an even cleaner pickup for you. You can move back in. You're going to get aggressive. Here comes the Dragon. Hero is still alive. He finally gets taken down, but the Dragon's in the point, and he's finding damage.
It was enough, and great target swap from Invokal. He gets the guaranteed kill, and now it's just pressure. The pressure already mounted because somebody has died, and he's just staying alive. He's just holding off this corner. He can stay here as long as he wants. 15 seconds in the Dragon form, by the way. He's going to be fine. FRZ God now has to battle back. This could be the game, Gore. Renegades are 3-1, 90% going in. The wall is blocked off. Sadak, can they even touch? Oh my God, Renegades! Stunning SSG, and they're happy about it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's no reason not to be at this point. Not
Get up,
only
young fella.
was that a phenomenal point fight, but I mean, just look at the fact that they're upsetting a team that, again, first week blew everyone away. This week is looking not quite the way SSG, I think, have been planning for, and you can see that on their faces there. They were a little nervous, I think, coming into this week because they had to go against an IP, and again, I think Renegades, in their mind, might have been done and dusted before they got into the booth, and now they're recognizing, wait a minute, this is not a game that we can just give up. This is not a set that we can maybe ignore. And
No, it's
Vocal,
not.
100,950 damage. Shadow just behind him at the 99,000. Tyra Marks plus an Imani did wonders.
Unbelievable. You could tell that they're definitely just trying to go and, you know, find what's working. But I think in the same way of finding what works, you have to also find out what, you know, you have to be really aware of yourself. And it's
Yeah.
a hard thing to do, but I actually think at this point, you have to look at the fact that Imani has just been pretty unstoppable as far as what she's brought to the table. It's not even the KDAs, right? I mean, because that's okay. 8-4, you know, you're basically 2-1 for your KD, and that's strong. But it's not like, you know, FRZ God wasn't like that. He was doing a very good job as well. It's just that you had so much from all the other elements of Renegades. Chopper played fantastically, perfect overpowers. That last one on the mid-tower was the one that sealed the deal because they got rid of the healer. And then you also have Hero playing like a freaking hero today, getting big kills, and no one's asking him to. And that's what I love about that role. No one asks you to get those kills, but if you get them, you help everybody on your team.
And being able to come through the aggression from the front lines, again, we highlighted Hero and Viral early on, but Moonchopper has done a great job switching into this role, and I feel like having a little bit of time off has helped them get that into the zone it needed to be. The first couple weeks were just, man, how's he going to look on this? Is it going to be clean? Is he going to be maybe feeling a little rough making that transition, playing more than just Ashe? Now he's got the Ashe, the Con. He's playing this flex frontline and aggressive frontline a lot cleaner than we saw at the beginning of the split.
Well, this is why I'm always like, what are you focusing on? I mean, what did you look at last night? Because, you know, clearly the Torvald
There's
game,
something in the water.
I mean, the Torvald game didn't work yesterday. That's what we brought up first thing we saw today. And it doesn't work again. Triple tank, I like the adjustment. I think I appreciate when teams try things. But it also looks like the two key consistencies is when you have to put your point tank on the Torvald, you lose the value of what Rachao does best. And you don't get the value from Sadak in what Sadak does best. And then it feels like they were trying to force a square peg into a round hole. So we'll see how they adjust. But the Amani ban clearly, needs to happen, and they're going to do it. And they may get Atlas as a result of it.
Honestly, it's Atlas or Khan. One of them is going to be left open here, and I think one of them, whichever one gets let through, might be picked up.
Are they willing to do that when they're second pick? Because that's the key. If they are second pick, are they willing? That's what happened last time, and that's been the issue. Can you give up Atlas? Because right now they could take Atlas, but they feel like they're not willing to give up Atlas.
Yeah.
They'd rather give up Imani. I think Imani has to be your ban. You have to not care about Atlas at this point.
I agree.
Even let Torvald.
I mean, first pick last time around, again, they banned Imani Atlas. It was Makoa Torvald on the other side. This time you swap the Torvald and the Atlas, but you still give Khan over to SSG. So they're, again, content with the way this goes. Again, kind of bringing it, quote-unquote, to normalcy for them. They can deal with a matchup that's Leon and Cassie instead of Imani being in the mix, but you have to be able to pull it out when you're second pick, like you said.
Yeah, I'd love to see SSG another one on Atlas if they get the chance. Renegades banning out, but thrown off by what Kresnik said because he said they picked the wrong talent. Then they went and picked that talent.
Again,
and it didn't work. So I'm trying to figure out, was it a bait or just that game, that setting? I'd love to get inside the mind of that one because I'm sure they have a reason. And there's no doubt, everyone has a reason for all the things that they're doing. It's just, what are the results and how can you start to make sure that you manipulate them, heading your way? The Khan pick here, it's flexible, it's strong, it's good for SSG. Renegades now with the Genos, which has been banned. It's taken up one of those slots. And the Eevee is unbanned as well, so SSG going to have a lot more freedom here on Stone Keep if they want to pull that off.
This is one of those maps that Eevee looks pretty good on, even if you don't necessarily think of her as like a top priority. And that makes it a little easier to be like, you know what? 8th, 9th, or 7th, or 10th, depending on which team picks her, like those are going to be the spots where she's going to come in. Those last two on either team, because she's going to be the flex pick, she's going to be a counter, she's going to be, hey, this is safe because they don't have a Leon or something. Like, you're going to be able to see her. But you're also looking at, Blasters, Bomb King, Shadow loves playing that. We just saw Freeze God play it, not exactly to the fullest extent I believe it could be. And, of course, Drogos, which we saw a couple games ago. Can make a difference here. SSG opt for the Eevee.
Oh, wow!
I think this is important. I think it's been good bans from the Renegades. They've done their homework. They've really set themselves up in a nice way by banning the Eevee out multiple times. And they've taken advantage of the Imani, which clearly, for whatever reason, SSG are unwilling to play. And there's, like I said, there's only two reasons why. And one reason is obviously false. The first reason is that you don't like it and you don't think it's good. But it's obviously good. It's beating you multiple times, 4 times in the last 2 days. Or you just you haven't put in the time to be able to bring it out at this level, which then goes back to the conversation around, you weren't scrimming it, and maybe you scrimmed it, you just didn't like it. That's what I heard. I heard people, they scrimmed it, they didn't like it. But now it's like, well, we got to figure out a way to either incorporate what we didn't like about that scrim and change that aspect of it and use it. But we can't keep ignoring the fact that it's pretty top tier right now, for sure.
And if I remember correctly, I know like SSG had a lot of play against, I believe, Na'Vi this last week. I know I've seen a lot of those two in the booths, like going up against each other, kind of butting heads. So, I mean, getting a flavor for like the European style maybe, but not quite exactly what you would expect out of NIP, which again, yesterday during their post-game interview was more focused on the fact that we'll just play whatever.
Yeah.
And like, if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Like, we don't care anymore when it comes down to that deep. We can play around with it.
I feel really confident about both lineups. I think they're strong for each. Sadak and Rachao on great picks. FRZ got and Aries on great picks. And of course, Mittal looking comfortable, as well as Viral, who loves the Genos. He's had some incredible streaks on that champion and some great plays. Very offensive-minded player. And so this looks good for him. The Leon and Drogos are two very good matchups here because Leon counters Eevee with that hit scan and the cleave and the auto aim. And Cassie has a harder time hitting the Drogos. And I'm curious to see how well this will come off. Shadow, a master blaster. And so the flexibility he's shown in this set also on 2 hit scans now going into the blaster play, that's just phenomenal for me.
Well, it looks again like it was blaster versus blaster, DPS versus DPS, and Aries and Invocable go down now to Dave and Nick to be able to take this game away from us.
Hi.
Hey, Evan. How are you? We got game 4 almost underway here. Renegades, against all odds, up 2-1 here, Nick. Is it the jerseys? Is that the difference maker?
Hero's
Is
got
that
the jersey? He's got his anti-friction.
I was gonna say he's
on.
got the shooting guard sleeve on the opposite arm. I think all things combined, and the Renegades are looking good. I've always said, I said this on the desk a little bit this morning too. The Renegades, they have some shining spots. They've just been looking to get it all formed into one shining light, and they're looking a lot closer together here today. Stone Keep, though, it's a map that SSG have done well on in the past. They get rid of the Imani as well. That was a big talking point on the desk. Just doing away with the Imani. She's been a big part of the Renegades lineup these past couple of games, so she's not going to be out and available in this one.
That's one of the cool things about brand new champions is that if they're both good, they're both probably getting banned out, and then that really does a lot to shake up the draft elsewhere, and that really puts a lot of pressure on these coaches and these players to figure out on the fly how these drafting strategies are going to change, because we were stagnating just a little bit through a couple of these weeks, and the minor league console is starting to look a little stagnant. But with Atlas and Imani here now, I'm looking for that spice.
Yeah, I guess, this upcoming Monday and Tuesday will be the first time we're able to get a look at those guys. Space Station continue with their kind of tried and true strategy of just throwing Barrick or Inara on the point, getting it up to that upper 2/3, 3/4 of the way done, and then trying to fight on the back end of it. The Renegades now found the aggression. Shadow getting so aggressive, getting up in the face of 3 members of SSG, nearly falling for his troubles, but Renegades find themselves back on the point now.
He really wants that Inara,
He does.
but it's early game. Damba Inara is very, very difficult to break through when you don't have a high level of cauterize. Shots connecting onto this Drogos. They don't have a great answer for it. They don't have a hit scan player, and they don't have the line of sight, really. Sadak finally finds it and takes it down, and things are quickly collapsing as a result.
And this is what we've seen time and time again. Space Station just start off on the point. They hang out on the point. They're fine just to absorb a lot of the pressure as long as they don't trade out any deaths. And by the time the fight comes around, they're up 80-something%, 90-something% sometimes, and if you get a few kills on the end of it, that's all you need rather than winning multiple team fights. 5 clean kills here for Space Station. Nothing on the board for the Renegades. 0-1-0, top to bottom here for them. Space Station get to try their hand now at an offensive push. The scout goes out. They have Seismic Crash. They have the Dread Serpent as well.
I thought somebody was behind them there. Maybe Drogos
Could have been,
flanking.
yeah.
Overpower did connect onto Moonchopper, though. He took a little swim, but he'll be respawned now. Just maybe trying to use that mid-round, looking for the shots from Damba, but Sadak's going to be the one that finds it. And Lightning as well comes out on the low ground.
Some kills starting to come up in favor of Space Station here. They start to stagger these. This payload actually could start getting really, really close to going through. 10 seconds left on a handful of the respawn timers, and now it just depends how aggressive they want to get on some of these flanks, how aggressive they want to be in keeping them from getting out of their base. Freeze God doing a good job of it, and this payload's getting dangerously close right now. It is going to be Hero to drop down and get the Dome Shield out and buy themselves some time right now. Shadow trying to stay alive on the Drogos right now. The Dome Shield does buy a little bit of time, but the Dread Serpent comes out. Hero goes running. He nearly goes back. The bowling ball keeps him alive at the moment, as well as being behind his shield, Nick. This one is so close to going in.
Very healthy shield for Sadak as well. He's going to have a lot of time to buy here. Eats that shoulder bash. She's just fine. Nobody's looking at Inara. She's full HP. Sadak is happy to tank this one, bro. And Space Station, off the back of that, just throw it in.
And Moonchopper was the lone contestant there trying to keep that payload from going through. And you said it. I mean, Inara was just kind of hanging next to the payload, and once Moonchopper went down, there was no contest left. Ares, the Leon man, coming alive now on the Cassie as well. 2-0 here for Space Station. They look a lot better. I think it's important. Honestly, we always say it, but you go down 3-0 or 3-1, that's a pretty tough hill to climb. So Space Station looking on their way to leveling out this series at 2. But this is what we saw in game number 1. They went up 2-0, and then the Renegades come firing out of the gates after that on Serpent Beach and end up taking it. So looking really, really good here.
It's crazy, man. In a league this competitive, historically we've been able to tell pretty close who's going to beat who, and this is the way things are going to go, but it just really has never felt that way. And only in those extreme matchups have the predictions really been easy to make.
Right.
It depends how a team shows up on a day. What was their week of practice like? It's really, really cool to see how competitive the Premier League has gotten this year.
Absolutely, and you know, you see Space Station lose yesterday, and you think, all right, well they're gonna come out with fire in their belly, and they're gonna just run all over Renegades, but that just has not been the case. Renegades benefiting from a little bit of time off, some extra practice for them as well. They're looking good here today, 75%, 78%, and climbing here for Space Station. All 5 members streaked out. I don't think Renegades have actually found a kill yet. Hero drops down as well. 3-0 here for Space Station. This is methodical.
What is happening here?
I don't know.
It's crazy to me.
I mean, definitely kind of out of left field. This is just a clean steamroll right now from Space Station.
And the draft, to me, looks pretty good from the Renegades. I think the Eevee is the question mark, but we know that FRZ can always perform on this character, and maybe, I guess, it doesn't matter where it comes out and how he likes to play it. It's just going to work for him. It's so comfortable at this point. I don't know what they're doing, man, but so far it does not look like the Renegades have much of a contest here on Stonekeep.
The 1v1 goes in favor of Chow there on the Inara. Renegades did find their first couple kills of the match here. Most of the members still with 0 in the kills column at the moment, and Vocal getting the worst for wear in that Ice Storm. He does end up dropping Freeze God, but Aries there to support and clean up that kill as well. Now you look at Space Station. They've had such a fast start to this game. The Dragon Punch maybe is going to buy a little time. He's not able to find a target with it. He doesn't actually end up hitting anyone. He goes so low. He gets out as well, but Shadow didn't find anyone with the Dragon Punch. He was able to assist and help in a few kills, and Renegades buy themselves some time. That's a nice salvo. Aries catches all of it and goes down back to base. Renegades still a minute left to defend, though. They'll look to get some dismounts and buy themselves as much time as they can. There's a little bit of a flank going on through the backside of the keep, it looks like.
Yeah, Joker's playing around the roofs.
Playing around the roof.
Chopper hits a gigantic assert dominance, too. That was really nicely done. That was, I think, there to try and help Shadow land that punch, but it ended up being enough on its own, stunning out all 3 members of SSG. Aries caught slipping here. Leon and Barrick are going to take him off guard. Nice couple of mid-range characters with their guns. Plenty of pressure to take that out. The Renegades just kind of coming alive here on the defense. With only 30 seconds left. Space Station Gaming maybe going for a little bit of that backdoor pressure. Sadak on the objective when everybody else is fighting.
Shadow's low here. They're going to get the respawns. This is going to come down to likely one final team fight. I was going to say, you need to keep yourself alive there. Unfortunately, he's not able to. The overpower goes on to Hero as well. If he goes down, this could be going through. It could be a clean 4-0. The shoulder bash not able to stop it, and Vocal gets sent running, and Space Station, they come back in a big way, 4-0 on Stonekeep.
So normally we don't really say much about those ultimates mid round, like the Assert Dominance and Dragon Punch. Normally those are just par for the course. Like, people just throw those out.
Yep.
Make sure the defense doesn't have too much momentum. It's got to worry about building on its own. The Renegades use those. I don't know. I'll be honest. I wasn't really paying attention to the payload while Sadak was kind of on it. I'm not sure how far he moved it, but he does get it pretty close.
Right.
The Renegades have used all their ultimates at that point. Space Station don't look like they've used any because they have 1 ultimate per character for the Renegades to deal with them, and they just win that fight kind of with ease and take it home.
They win it with ease and take it home. We're tied up at 2s here going into game number 5. Let's send it back to the desk to break this one down.
You can see it all came down. The Battle of the Blasters wasn't, I guess, all really in the Blasters that time around. Aries is the one who puts his name forward. But with Richao, with Sadak, the 3 of them together, 7-1, 9-3, 9-1. Incredible performance from them on Stonekeep.
And a just, abysmal performance, unfortunately, here. Shadow with an 0-6 scoreline. I thought I saw him get a kill. I don't even know how that's possible. I thought I saw him get a salvo kill, but must have gone to somebody else. And in Vocal 2-5, 2 rare things. But here's what we were breaking down. And I had the privilege of sitting with Virtus Pro while we were out watching this game. And the big conversation was this, that the way they banned out Imani and Atlas puts SSG back into the old meta. And they excel at that meta. They had beaten everyone except NIP. And who knows even if they would have beat NIP if Imani and Atlas were not available.
True.
Banning them out puts them in the advantage. If Renegades realize that, they basically need to make sure they get one of those because SSG have not adapted yet. So the key for SSG is to keep these banned because it's seriously just them being able to progress enough, fast enough, in a meta that's so wildly different now because of these two champions having such a big impact.
And the glorious thing about it is that even if, you go first pick, second pick, like you can always spend one on Amani. I think it is always worthwhile. There's at least one
They definitely need to ban
Amani
Amani each, like each game.
Yeah, it is worthwhile for you to do that. Like Makoa Torvald, let's say you're a second pick, that's typically a second pick ban phase, is just Makoa Torvald. It's okay letting Makoa through. It's okay maybe even letting Torvald through. Like, you can deal with them. You know how to deal with them. It's a little easier than it seems like with the Amani, where they haven't quite figured her out yet.
Yeah, I mean, they've lost every game against her. And when Atlas is on the side of Renegades, it seems like it, and any other side, even NIP yesterday, it seems like it's stronger than with SSG. And even though they said they figured out what they were playing wrong, they still haven't adjusted it. Hasn't really worked out for them. And so we're going to have to look at them taking those champions away. That's the only way they can win this set. If they can, a lot of people were very confident that if those champions are non-factors, SSG will 4-0 and continue to win through this set. So now the onus is on Renegades to be able to change that. And I think they will. But I just think it'll be Atlas that gets through this time instead of Amani for the rest of the set.
It's going to be difficult, I think, to dance around. I'm actually interested to see, because I think, obviously switching back and forth between this, the way this map is going to go, Renegades get to choose where they want to take it. And if they go, their first pick bans this entire set have been Genos Eevee, Genos Eevee, Genos Eevee. Their second pick was Makoa Torvald, Makoa Atlas. And for the last one, it was because SSG banned out Torvald instead. So you kind of had to go down, who do you want to give up? Who's like the lesser of two evils? Whereas SSG are in the, I want to say, more awkward area. Again, Makoa Torvald is the typical number 2. They did Makoa Torvald, Makoa Atlas. You have to change one of those two. And I would say probably overall the Makoa. Potentially, if you grab a Cassie, if that's who you're favoring, you let him through, Renegades will pick it, get a big game to try and burn him down, and kind of help equalize the playing field.
Yeah, I mean, it's really not about the strength of the champions. It's the let's see, the homework that you've already done on them for years. You already know how to play against Makoa. You don't know how to play against an Atlas, and that's the big key that they're running up against. Talking to players in that lobby, many of them were saying that Renegades, like we had thought, had a better lineup because the Leon and the Drogos, Leon countered Eevee better than the Cassie countered the Drogos. And we were saying that this is actually very surprising they're doing it, but Sadak getting on Khan, that's important. FRZ God, these two need to get on power picks. Ares really could be the guy that is shifting the value for SSG in this Imani Atlas set, and he needs to pick up something here. Because what they're worried about, and I was talking to them, is that if you put FRZ God on Imani, and then Ares has to get a subpar pick as a result, they're worried about his ability to carry, and they're basically saying it's not worth it. You need to put FRZ God on the hardest carry possible, Sadak on the best frontline possible, and hopefully Ares can get something good like a Cassie. That's why they prioritize Cassie so much, because they need those other two to really carry them. Those are the stars of this team.
Cassie and Leon have been the two, I want to say, like, big showstoppers overall for Ares. Like, they've been phenomenal for him.
But they're running the mill. They're
yeah. If you're
basic
Renegades at this point, maybe you ban Cassie, you ban Leon. All of a sudden, it becomes way easier to deal with him.
Interesting.
Because there's multiple ways to look at this, right? Who do you want to focus? Do you want to get rid of Freeze God? Do you want to ban
Eevee Cassie?
Ares.
You ban out FRZ God and you ban out the champion that Ares wants to play, and then they can't take Imani. So you force him onto Leon. You see it coming a mile away, and you could even take Leon if they don't first pick it.
Well, they get rid of the Khan. I think prioritizing two of the ones that you had kind of mentioned, they're looking at Sadak and they're looking at Freeze God, because this map, not necessarily a big Eevee map for Frog Isle. Of course, yesterday, if you saw the map 4 going up against SSG and NIP, it was not at all what you thought. And if this is not an Imani
or an Atlas,
then we are going to probably another game after this.
Wow.
It's 2-2, so whoever wins, we're guaranteed a game 6. I think that ban might push us to a game 7. I think that Torvald pushes us to game 7 no matter what.
Very possible. And they give Shadow the Eevee. I mean, this is... I don't know. I hope SSG... You clearly saw Sadak, Kresnik talking about it. But we've all kind of been able to see where their Achilles heel
Maybe
is.
They're going to pull it out?
Well, SSG, hopefully they pull out. I mean, hopefully they take one of them. I could see an Atlas coming through here. We saw them use Temporal Divide to cover basically the entire map of Frog Isle.
True.
So that Unstable Fissure with that, but they're not going to pick any of them.
Yeah, I kind of wish I'd been able to grab Kresnik sometime between this game just to ask, You know, they keep going to this temporal divide. He himself, like in the interview, maybe it was a feint, but like mentioned, we're choosing the wrong talent. Yesterday, NIP, all I want to say like the top teams right now, right?
Yeah.
The number one team is constantly looking for rewind, not caring about this wall. Like it's useful, but no, you don't need it to be the size of the map. You need this AoE rewind. And the fact that they forego both of them, Atlas and Amani available for Renegades here, that seems like they're playing a very dangerous game.
It is a very dangerous game. It's a thin line between success and failure for SSG right now. The fact that this set is even as contested as it is surprising a lot of us. But I think we've gotten clear why.
Yeah.
So now Renegades have a chance to still, you know, they've proven that they are playing and making the right decisions when given the opportunity in this set. And what has clearly given them the edge is taking champions, I think, that are powerhouses in this new meta to maybe get ahead of SSG. They're going to forego the Atlas as well here, so still have time to recoup it. But here's the thing. Because Kinessa's picked up and Invocal is the Amani player, Renegades may not have to, SSG may not have to worry about it, because unless Shadow switches to the Kinessa, Renegades aren't going for the Amani.
Yeah, but what I like so far, Renegades are playing Frog Isle. Right, that's the thing like about this draft. Like Eevee's going to be very good to be able to deal with the Strix. Kinessa's going to be very good to deal with the Strix and any flank pressure that SSG might pick up. And I mean, unless we're seeing a flex, this is, in my mind, I immediately go to Talus to close out SSG's lineup. But it's something that we haven't really seen in the Premier League, so I don't know if they want to pull it out.
Yeah, no, it could be interesting. They do need some type of pressure, you would assume. And maybe they're going to get it from Atlas, but the way I've seen them play a little bit more passively in this iteration of Paladins, I don't know if that's coming through. One thing that could really help them is a Zen-style character with some burst mobility.
I forgot about Zen.
And there's the Androxus, so this is something that FRZ God will play.
See, the only issue I have, and this is the same thing I said yesterday on Frog Isle, the snipers for SSG don't click with me just yet. Maybe it's something they have to show me. Maybe that's why it doesn't click for me just yet. It's just I've seen, well, one yesterday, and it just didn't do anything. But it was against NIP, so admittedly, probably the toughest matchup to pull a sniper out in. If Ares can make this Strix look really good, I'll probably rewrite this thought in my head. But they grab the Androxus, they have the flank pressure. Again, flank on flank, sniper on sniper. Do you have a lineup you prefer?
Well, it depends who's on what. I think you need FRZ God on the Androxus because that has to carry. That has to do really, really well. I'm already going to give Invocal a little bit of a tilt towards the sniper edge. He's just proven it more and more. If FRZ God is on the Strix, obviously that's got to win that battle against Invocal, and Ares has got to give you good kills. He's got to give you good cleanup after FRZ God hits those shots. It's a high, let's say, performance draft for SSG, so they've got to perform. Renegades, though, do something tried and true. They've always been pretty good on Frog Isle. I'm going to have to go with them this round.
Well, it's tied 2-2, and if things keep going the way they have, Renegades map pick means that they might win this one. We'll have to see if they can push us even further, maybe going to a Game 7, or if they can close out this one and give themselves the lead. We're going to go down to Dave and Nick to push us forward.
Thank you, Gore. Thank you, Evan. Down to the Isle we go. And if we looked at the map picks and bans as they came in, it was green and red alternating down the board. So if history has taught us anything, Renegades will win this one, and then SSG will win the next one, and then Renegades wins Game 7, just to complete the pattern on the map picks. Do you think the lineups will allow that to happen here, Nick? Do you think Renegades have a shot to take this one?
I think they do. I think they have a very, very good lineup for times of old. How Atlas impacts this game, we'll have to wait and see. I'm super excited they picked the Andro. This is a character that I really would like to come back in the meta, right? I think he's super, super fun to watch. And it's so cool to watch just such a playmaking type of character who's been so iconic for a very long time in Paladins. It makes me sad that he hasn't had a little place in a while.
Well, he's kind of... He's made his way in. I think we saw him a couple times yesterday, first time out here today, so not one of the champions that you'd never see. So at least we get to take a little look at him every once in a while. Right. Rip on Lex, dude.
They're buddy cops in the lore, so I guess,
Are they?
know,
well, there
back
you go.
At the station, having some more time to chat as Andrew's not picked as often as he once was.
Red.
Oh
no!
Oh, someone's a little rusty.
Wait. I didn't see that.
A little rusty.
We didn't see
Did
that?
you black out, Dave? Did you black out?
I did. Spacestation, unfortunately, with an unfortunate loss of Andro there, now are actually kind of on the back footed as a result. The point percentage is all really close here. Only a couple kills coming out either way. Kind of a slow start here to Frog Isle. 2 for a Chow, 1 here for Invocal. So yeah, very slow start. Overtime already ticking away without too much offensive action. Invocal's going to find the first in this fight. Make it 2 now for him. That Kinessa's going to start to come alive, and the Renegades are going to find point number 1 as a result.
Andrew just dives to the back line and does take down Kinessa eventually. Sadok's fallen, FRZ God falls. And it's unfortunate, but you got to bring it back to that pretty large mistake there from FRZ God. Just fell off the map, a completely unforced error. Those are extremely, extremely costly and something you don't see often at this level.
I mean, it was just enough space where then the Renegades felt comfortable. Look at that. That wall is so massive.
Mr. Gorbachev.
You don't. There are other maps where you don't really get the full effect.
Yeah,
of the massive Atlas wall, but here I mean, that was breathtaking.
Yeah,
breathtaking.
One of the 7 wonders of the realm.
That's true, especially here on Frog Isle. You
and
get
it's
the
only
statue.
on a 20-something second cooldown. So shout outs.
Shout outs, Atlas, making an impact at least at the moment. I mean, his team is able. Look at that. They're all able to basically stand behind it. You can fight behind the wall for its duration here. They're going to get aggressive instead.
Yeah, they are.
Remember, they're on defense here, but they're pushing in to the Renegades base. The Ice Storm's going to find some damage. No kills yet. Shadow's actually going to end up dropping. Moonchopper finds the lonely Renegades kill here.
Wow. Look at this aggro, though.
Now they're getting aggro, yeah. Ares getting up in the face.
I mean, Ares does a good job of everybody that kind of, like, I think made themselves available to follow up on that Ice Storm. He just punished for it. So I think that was a really nice little move there. They're going all in just to buy as much time as possible on this defense. It will collapse. We're not exactly surprised by this.
Yep.
But they've bought in enough time to, you know, the payloads were seeding almost back to square one, and there's only 43 seconds on the clock to get it home.
It's actually kind of interesting. We talked to Kresnik in the pregame interviews. I asked him about how they felt sort of about the Atlas Amani meta. They had a tough time with it yesterday. And he had kind of mentioned that they thought they were picking the wrong talent here on Atlas, but they go back to the large wall here with him. I mean, it's paying off, I think, on Frog Isle. I think it's probably going to be a map-dependent talent choice. I mean, if the enemy team is likely to be grouped up, then maybe you pick up Deja Vu in this case. Blocking off your entire team from some damage for a few seconds is probably going to be more helpful. Freeze God with a couple kills. Ares with a 3rd now for Space Station. 2 now for each of the damage dealers. Strong defense, to say the least, from Space Station. They go into this point fight basically 5 ultimate strong. Renegades very close to the same. On an ultimate versus ultimate level, does one team kind of raise your eyebrows more than the other?
Well, Andro, it's okay. I think most of the time you will get one, maybe one and some change onto your second. The Atlas Ultimate has been good at times, so it's really just all about the player, I think, who makes themselves available and how you follow up onto who is not exiled, right? They could maybe just exile the frontliner like Moonchopper and Shadow and just move to the backline, make an easy entrance for FRZ God, right? He doesn't have to worry about any contest, and he can just walk up straight to Invocal. To comment on which talent is best for where, it feels like a little bit is dependent on your composition because everyone's running that like move speed when you're passing through Temporal Divide. And if you're not a team that wants to dive in through the Temporal Divide, then that's a decent bit of value that you're just leaving on the table, essentially. And Invocal is not having any problems this round, as we may have anticipated. He finds the first kill.
Ares either gets some big shots here. The Inara is so low, unfortunately gets plugged and has to back off a little bit through time and space. Is going to go fishing, but come up short in this case. Renegades, though, they have the zone in here. 57% in climbing for them. Space Station need to find a way around this zone. The Accursed Arm's going to try to do it, but he doesn't have any good targets for it just yet. He finds the Eevee, but only gets 1 shot out. Goes back on full cooldown. Here comes the Ice Storm as well. The Reversal's going to get some of that damage back, as well as the Assert Dominance. Renegades finding themselves no kills, but they're on the front foot. They could find some on the back end of this fight. 93%. Space Station need to get a touch.
That's really all you can say. I mean, everybody used every ultimate. The Renegades didn't get any kills, really. Space Station didn't get any kills, but Renegades did get the zone. They did get control of the map because they used their ultimates first. And what Space Station, barked back with was just not enough to move them.
And it's honestly just kind of a bit of a reversal of strategies. I was so used to seeing Space Station jump on the point first, kind of hang out, absorb a lot of the pressure, chill out for, you know, 70, 80, even sometimes 90% before the fight starts. And at that point, it's just too late unless the other team wins a clean sweep. They're not able to actually get back into it. In this case, it was really the Renegades. The fight was kind of just dancing around. Both teams just kind of poking at each other. A couple kills maybe from Invocal. Ares answering back with some damage of his own, but it really seemed like they were fine just to hang out on the point and then win the team fight at the end of it.
It didn't feel like SSG had much of a concise plan either. The divide kind of went out a couple of times. FRZ got sort of just, he dashed up on top of the frog statue and ulted, and there was nobody around. Everyone was like, okay. He looked at Invocal. Invocal was clearly, obviously not in line of sight. He didn't make himself available. He looked down at Eevee. She was either out of line of sight or in ice block. And then he looked back at Moonchopper, and he was exiled. So it didn't feel like a lot of like on the same page was happening there. And again,
no,
I
agree.
Bring it back to what I said. I think you exile Chopper, you exile Shadow, and then you just let FRZ go back to Invocal. He can walk past those guys. He doesn't have to dash up above them.
Right.
He can just walk past them and get on this Kinessa for free.
And Vocal's been the guy they need to get on. Every single fight you see at least one kill. More often than not, a couple doubles maybe for his side. He's been the guy as well. They've kind of leaned on in a lot of these games. He's always finding himself some good slash lines. They do so here. Shadow and Invocal combining for 3, make it 4. Renegades with almost a clean sweep. Only the Genos left alive right now. Nick, this could go through if the stagger is good enough.
Yep, plenty of ultimates as well. The Renegades have a lot to get this one on home. Spacestation Gaming have a decent amount of ults to contest with. It's all about who wants what, where, when, and why. There's the first of what could be many, and it won't connect.
He gets plugged. Wait, there wasn't even a contest from it. I was ready for the fight to start breaking out. I didn't quite see what happened. I don't know if you caught it, Nick.
I think that was a really good Dread Serpent. I saw Dread Serpent exploded down on the payload, and I think that bought just enough space for no contest on the payload.
3-1 here for the Renegades. Surprising, I think, all of us today. They've shown they can hang in a lot of these games. But today, I mean, they're showing that they want it, and they're very close to winning it. They go up 3-2 here. They're on set point for the last 2 maps. What are you seeing on is there something on Space Station that
gotta clean it up and have a plan? If you watch that team fight back, I couldn't decipher what they were trying to accomplish. Right. It feels like maybe they were playing a little bit passive, waiting for an opportunity to present itself. But I think with Atlas, you know, nice little setback there. You stay on the mount. Another cool interaction. I guess you don't take any damage, so technically you're not going to get dismounted here.
Yep.
Temple Divide has been used, and it opens the door for a big seismic crash.
Oh, it is big. Atlas is going to get himself out with a little bit of a rewind. Hero gets rewound as well. He's going so low on this Inara. That'd be a big kill. Instead, the banner comes down, and the kills are all coming up blue now. Renegades flip the aggression on its head. They win the team fight, and they're well on their way to their 4th point here. It's all down to a good zone.
To put it simply, this flank from the Androxus is just not paying off. He's just not getting the kills in the back line. Shadow's done a good job at when he does manage to pass half court to go back and to help.
Yep.
And to actually, a lot of times, get that killing blow. Hero does fall, though. Comeback mechanic is enabled. If SSG can get a foothold here, they're going to capture very, very quickly.
That's a good Ice Storm, actually, though. Lots of damage onto the Barrack as well as the Andro, and Vocal's going to be the one to clean that up. FRZ got answers back as well as Sadak with one. In this case, he's so low. The reversal's going to come out. He's able to dance behind this tree, get himself some time here. Fast cap is enabled. It all comes down to one final team fight here. He's not going to use it just as of yet. The wall actually kind of blocks them out. The setback comes out as well. Overtime ticking away. There are the contests now. Hero goes down. That could be it here. The point tank, no one else left to contest except for the Ash. But damage is starting to fly out both ways, Nick.
There it is. Nice line of sight found by Ares. Overtime is ticking away. The kills just aren't coming through fast enough for the Renegades, and it looks like SSG will hold on for now.
That was a well-played team fight there from SSG. So many low health bars. I'm sure that's aggravating if you're on the side of the Renegades. So many targets so close to going down, especially when you're that close to sealing this game up. Now Space Station can push, tied up at 3. Renegades don't have a game to win here just yet. They'll have to win one final point fight. Ares plugging away at Shadow. Catches one right across the air.
Those are very good shots here. Does tag pretty much everyone on the team at one time or another. Up in the
Oh,
air,
my.
Shadow's not safe, just barely gets out, stays alive. FRZ got is diving like a mad dog to try and capitalize on it, but Shadow's back is covered by Invocal.
That's so important from Shadow there. If he actually ends up getting taken out, this fight starts going in the opposite direction.
that was
Instead, Space Station are the ones dying out here. 1.5 minutes left, so still tons of time left on the clock for them to get back into this one. The Atlas Ultimate, the Andro, as well as the Dome Shield are ready. Yeah, Seismic Crash, Dread Serpent, Assert Dominance and Ice Storm soon to follow as well. This is a good spot here for Knessa. I know in Vocal we've seen some games where he's free and clear to just hang back in their base right in the same exact spot. He's able to plug away and win some of these fights. Ash is going to get aggressive though. FRZ God's going to clean up in Vocal. This is looking tough here for the Renegades.
Nice Temporal Divide as well, splitting the difference, but it's not really panning out too much more in favor of SSG outside of that first kill. 3 more come through for the Renegades as the defense holds once more. Pretty solid stuff here, not needing to use lots of ultimates. The Renegades are getting a lot of value, and a high-octane defense looks like it's on its way.
So Doc's having a bit of a rough game on the Atlas. I think Renegades have kind of figured out how they want to play against it. The divides have been pretty good. I've enjoyed seeing kind of how they play around those massive Atlas walls. But honestly, in Vocal and Shadow, that 1-2 damage punch on this Renegades team has just held so strong in this game. Space Station have had a hard time breaking through.
There it is. Vocal hits a shot, but has to go for the retreat. Ares pokes him out and says, hey, what's up, man? I'm still here. Nice Temporal Divide. Ares takes down one. FRZ God dives again, and we'll find it. Nobody has died from SSG yet.
And now the Andro's in the back line. You got so many directions to look. The kills are all coming up SSG. This one's going to go through, and it's going to be tied up at 3. We're going to go down to 1 final point fight here on Frog Isle. 5 ultimates strong. Save the Ice Storm for both teams.
Yeah.
The Ice Storm will be up shortly after the initial fight. But it's interesting to kind of break down and look into maybe how this is going to play out, because it's been a bunch of kind of slow burning, slow starting team fights. And then the ultimates all kind of come out towards the end.
It's time. SSG have got to, I think, take the initiative here. I think you need to find a way to make this Atlas Exile a little bit more effective. And every time, you know, FRZ God gets his flank off successfully and can live, those fights go very well for SSG. So I think that's maybe the idea of what you want to do. And Vocal is like 12 and probably 12 and 6 now that he died. Once or twice more in that round.
13 and 6.
13 and 6 even, so better than I gave him credit for. He's a big problem for them. Setback. We'll deal with Inara. I think this is a good opportunity just to go.
That's what
exile
they did
him.
last
Get him
game
out of
as
here.
well. Here comes the ultimate. Shoulder bash is going to be good here. He misses. He only gets 1 with the ultimate here. And in the meantime, in Vocal and Hero, they find the kills now for Renegades. Sadak is left alone on the point. Shadow's going to do away with him. And now you have a Strix and a Genos as the last line of defense here for Space Station. But this is what we saw Renegades do last time, Nick. They won the team fight, but then SSG is able to break the zone and come back into it. That's a snipe there in Vocal. He goes down, and Space Station have some space to push in.
There it is. Shot's good on a Shadow as well. He's extremely low HP. He's getting pushed down, and Rashal's going to find him. Assert Dominance tries to slow it down, but SSG, off the back of Midtow's snipe, have just gotten themselves back in.
They are, and they're on the point. 72% is where Renegades will stop off. 42% and climbing now for Space Station as they find themselves now with the opportunity to zone. Seismic Crash, Dread Serpent are ready. Only the Dome Shield on the side of Space Station. It's up to Renegades now to break this zone, but it's climbing so fast on the point. 81%, they need to go soon. Shadow's going to try to get a touch in. Oh, but that's a nice Void Grip, and FRZ God cleans that one up. He didn't get the touch. Space Station take it.
Oh my goodness.
4-3. 2 back-to-back team fights go in Renegade's favor, but then Space Station seemingly better at breaking a zone and then capturing the point after.
Yeah, and the through time and space will do that, man. I was ready to tell 2 very different stories. One story where the Renegades win, and it comes down to Sadak just couldn't get that initiation for his team with the Exile. That never worked out in any of these rounds. And really, it took that miracle snipe from the backline. We saw those miss all game long. Midtow finds the one that matters most and gets his team the win.
Game changing through time and space. SSG go up. They're on set point here. Before we head into game number 6, let's send it up to the desk to break it down.
So, in, I guess, like any sort of show, any movie,
Okay, yeah.
Battle of Two Armies,
Sure.
horseback, like old medieval kind of armies, right?
The way we
Starts out
used to do them.
absolutely planned out. You can see like the battlements, everyone's set up. It's all planned. That's how this set started, right? It was
Yeah.
like, cool, we've got a
Keep
game
on
plan,
bet.
we're going into this. And then after a while, you're tired, you've been
Yeah.
swinging a sword, you've been in this
Yeah.
fight, like depending on how good you are, you've either lost a battle and you're just cut up really badly,
Yeah.
or maybe you've been able to win 2 or 3. But it comes down to like 3 1v1s at the
Yep.
very end. It's like super
3
sloppy.
super sloppy
And
1v1s.
it's just like, I'm going to punch you really hard, you're going to punch me really hard, and it just comes down to who's
Man.
going to stand the longest. That's what this game was to me.
It did feel like that, except it felt like the guy who really had just taken 2 of the 3 1v1s, as he's about to stare down the third guy, tripped on a rock, fell, and
Just
got
fell.
killed.
Fell
I think
and
at this
crashed his
point,
skull on
yeah,
another
fell
rock.
and crashed his skull. Didn't even get a chance to fight, literally, because not only do you see this through time and space, what an impact from so long, but what you see is the ability for Renegades scramble to have a negative impact. Moonchopper ults there, Shadow just dies. Why are you ulting there? Now Hero dies. Now Moonchopper dies. Should have just died. Come back, reset. Ashe ult would have been the perfect thing to create space for Shadow to come back into the point. But you ulting there takes away the huge resource that you have. But look at this. There's Dread Serpent, there's Seismic Crash. They die with these 2 up. These 2 big ults that could have
Yeah.
at least isolated someone. Do it to Freeze God. Do it to Sadak. Do it to anyone who's zoning you. Look at those ults. Now the Dread Serpent's used. You died with a Seismic. That can't happen. If you want to win, you need to make sure that you use all those things, because SSG were just better at the end. And it's really all credit to Midtov. If Vocal doesn't go down, they probably lose. So sometimes it takes a Herculean effort from one guy. And sometimes it's more about the dude who's doing really well, tripping on a rock and, not giving himself a chance to win. That one felt more like SSG did it right, and Renegades made some crucial mistakes.
And I think that, even early on, I want to say there were a couple mistakes from both sides, but really it comes down to the fact that Renegades lost control and they kept that control loss.
Yeah.
Like it just never came through, never recollected themselves, and now because
set,
of that,
though.
you have SSG in the lead. And admittedly, just echoing what you said, what a set. Like, who thought that this was going to go, admittedly further
Not
than
me.
4 games?
Not me. 100% not me.
I think worst case scenario, most people were saying this is a 4-1. Like, that's the worst case. Now you're in a position where SSG, it's a 4-2 at best. It's a 4-3 if you don't win this one.
And it makes it so interesting to see, because one thing that Hecate was saying at the start of this as well is that they definitely have this game. When they play the old meta, SSG will win. So far, this was a tough one. Somehow they pulled it out. They did win. The Atlas ban, I think, goes more in favor of SSG than Renegades, but maybe Renegades don't know that quite yet. Maybe they don't have that overhead view of it, and they're just saying, we're reacting to game, we're looking at map to map, and I can respect these decisions as of now, but I think the Amani's been valuable. I'd like to see them try to go back for it and force SSG into a weird ban spot if they want to take it away.
And I know yesterday Nick was actually calling to see Amani on this map specifically, because he's like, there's a lot of little corridors where the team has to come together, like Dragonfire in that area, shots in that area are almost always going to guarantee it. But
Well done.
SSG gets rid of his hopes and maybe the Renegades' hopes with a well-placed ban. But Torvald, Khan, both still available.
Hero's very good at Khan. He likes it, but this, again, is that meta that SSG thrives in. Amazing to see these 2 champs come up, have such an impact, and now be in the bans, and especially in this set as well. I just hope Renegades didn't shoot themselves in the foot by that early, Atlas ban, because admittedly you're taking away something that's just much better for you than it is for SSG. And they're going to go for the Genos. This is actually a bit surprising, given that the Khan is available.
Honestly, it might just be because, you roll back a couple maps, well, 3 maps, go to Brightmarsh where SSG grabbed that Torvald, and it isn't really good looking on them, right? Like, it's not necessarily the best look for them. It comes through, I think they were running 3, it was triple frontline. They had the Torvald, the Barrack, the Ruckus, and they were just playing Bubble the Bomb King, but unfortunately that bubble got burst pretty quick. It was a 4-1 for the Renegades. That happened, well, at this point, about an hour ago. And that was pretty strong, I want to say, from them. So Torvald, they might just be banking on them not picking it here.
Well, Renegades do it one thing, which is that we've seen Torvald have success with Genos as well. That double damage amp seems to kind of push it over the threshold of just like execution threshold into like ridiculousness. Like, man, it's just too much damage. I had a feeling they were going to go something like this. I mean, I'd be surprised if Khan made it through to the third phase, especially since we've got these bans of Makoa and Atlas at the moment. And so SSG will clean that up. That will most likely be something that Sadak runs, and that's a very strong pick for him. Renegades can go Torvald here, and Genos Torvald into something else. They still have the ability to go Nara. They don't have to worry about their tanks, so they could pick them last.
Yeah.
Maybe at least save one for the final phase so they could flex a DPS. You might want to grab a support and, I don't know.
I mean, you might have to play with the constant fear that, you know, maybe SSG go for a triple frontline again.
Pip here?
But, I mean, just having a single lead isn't exactly the best.
I don't know. I mean, Shadow could play Pip.
Yeah. I mean, with Eevee gone, I haven't seen Drogoz on this map, and I imagine, like, for the same reasons I actually got to talk to Meta Pusher last Friday about this, and he was saying, you know, he's personally not a big fan of Pip on this map just because there's all these small little hills that can break line of sight, that can cause a little more trouble for you, and like certain moments where either maybe your heal's not going to hit, your potion shot's not going to hit, or it's just awkward to kind of fight. And I'm wondering if, you know, you look at like Drogoz rockets in a similar way, like he hasn't been seen on this map. It's kind of wide open in the air, so a little dangerous to be early picked, but he could still work.
I mean, I remember that Pittsburgh Knight set that I believe it was Payan who went like 27-6 on Pip on this map specifically. So
he was good.
Not quite sure about that one. It's also been a pretty mainstay. And admittedly, Envies say they don't really, I mean, you know, I kept saying Mr. Hayes was the guy who loves Pip. He kept correcting me and saying, you got to stop saying it. So I'm not quite looking to them for that Pip right now. We'll see what they decide to do when it becomes their day to talk about it. But right now, it's really just a matter of looking at, can this Genos augment enough? Right now, I think they have it. I think Bomb King and Cassie, they have it.
With me in it.
As far as the damage potential, the Fernando going a little deeper into the tank pool, and the Torvald at the very end. So
good old
SSG
pick Torvald.
trying to figure out if it's going to come through. I mean, at the end, they had to lock a DPS in before they saw it, so I'm not sure if that really favored Renegades, but they did save it for a little spice at the end.
Well, Bomb King, Eevee, not available here for a Freeze God, so you're going to have to go a little deeper into your pockets if you want. Drogoz, we've obviously seen him on do phenomenally well. Last game we just saw the Androxus, but he's been bouncing around mainly kind of 3 blasters overall. I think actually in the first game he was playing the Cassie because Ares was on the Victor. It was a very kind of wonky draft, I would say, on that Frozen Guard. And maybe going even deeper. I would say out of this,
blood is rushing.
Maybe the Leon, whereas the Tyra can be kind of flex around maybe for Ares.
Yeah, I think the Tyra here is actually pretty decent against the Torvald. There's really not much he could do generally, but you have to watch out for the Nullify. And I think at this point, you just have to be able to space it right. Torvald is a very easy target, can't really run away from you. You're going to have the movement speed. You're going to have the ability to put him in a horrible spot with a good firebomb. But as we've seen, this meta of this map shifts, rotates very often. You should look for a lot of movement here. The Grover is banned, and that's been a pretty big healer to kind of augment that, so they'll have to do it in the most mobile way possible, which is Genos, and maybe that's one of the reasons why it factors so highly in their pick priority alongside the Cassie and Bomb King it's amping.
I'd say if you're Renegades right here, though, the one thing you have to be worried about, actually, it's kind of a mixed success, right? Tyra, not really that big of a threat, but at the same time, a Wrecker plus a Mark means that bubble will not last long, so you're going to have to play very carefully around who that vision is thrown onto. But we're going to the desert. Dave and Nick, take it away.
Thank you, Gore. We head into Shattered Desert. SSG have now won 2 straight. 3 straight makes it a set win for them, but now Renegades need to win 2 straight to save the day. Shattered Desert. What a movie to watch here on Friday morning.
That's a very dramatic song. The in-house band innovating here. I like it. New map, new track. Good stuff here. Everything fairly standard for what we would expect to see of a quote-unquote old meta team for Spacestation Gaming. None of the new champions involved in this matchup. Torvald came through 9th. That is something I don't remember the last time, if ever, that I have seen. So very curious to see if this Torvald has an impact. Kind of sketchy that you let it through 9th.
What a blessing that, 2 new champions into the pool, essentially breaks up the rest of them. I mean, there's so many different ways these lineups can go. I mean, you ban 2 of them out, that opens up 2 other champions that are frequently banned. In this case,
it may never happen again. I'll be honest.
Right.
It may never happen again, mostly because we don't release 2 champions at the same time. But I don't know. The fact that they're both viable and even ban-worthy is awesome to see.
I love it. Spacestation, though, they're going to love being on the point here. 96% going back to their old ways. They rely on standing on the point and getting 1 kill. I think there's only 2 kills in this game so far.
That's it.
Rachao now falls on the side of Space Station. But yeah, I think Hero went in to try to get a touch twice, was killed twice. And that's all Space Station needed. They, I don't think, stepped a foot off the point that entire time. Off to a good start here. They close this one out. They win the day.
Well, it's not a great sign for me, Dave. I mean, when you have Torvald early on in the game, when people can't pop your bubbles quickly, that's when I'm expecting more aggression and more people to set the pace of that fight. Nice little snag there on the overpower to keep things moving for SSG. But you don't use any of those early game advantages, and that's what's scary.
I mean, I feel like a couple weeks ago we would have said a Torvald Genos was certainly, it was a death sentence for the opposite team. Like we would have been up in arms. But I think teams have kind of started to learn how to play around it. The Genos has, he stayed in meta, but it's not necessarily as impactful as it was when he first came through here. The Torvald, certainly the more interesting of the 2 as far as lineups
I mean, the meta is what 2 teams are sitting across from each other, right?
Yeah.
Has there been, I wasn't here for the first couple of games, has there been a pip today in this set?
Has not been a pip
so
yet
like
today.
You go from yesterday when that's such an impactful pick to where it's getting almost banned out every game, and then it's just nobody really plays it. Nobody wants to fight for it in this set, so no one's going to look at it.
I mean, this is clean from SSG. They want to put this one away.
That's scary clean.
I think we'll see the slash lines here at halftime. But I think they found Hero twice to start off the round, and yeah, 1 kill from Shadow, 1 kill from Invocals. All the Renegades been able to find. Just clean.
It was kind of quiet too. Like,
I know it was a slow. I mean, it was just one of those slower. I mean, it played out essentially. Space Station stand on the point. They find Hero twice. That's all they need to capture it. And then they win this 1 clean team fight, and that's all they need to push it through. They're just operating on such a time-specific, time-smart basis right now where they seemingly know when to fight and know what to look out for. As such, they're up 2-0 here. Only a couple deaths in their column.
I mean, SSG, they're coming off of 4-0, right? They were feeling pretty high on themselves. I think rightly so. They were undefeated going into that match against NIP. And then they just get, stomped out of the building 4-0. It's not exactly a foreign sentence there to say NIP 4-0 their opponents, but definitely looking like they've woken up a little bit today.
I think they have.
Having a chance to play a little bit more of that older style, which I guess they are more successful at. That was a very, very good point made on the desk.
The overpower's been, I mean, especially with Atlas coming through.
Surgeon's nice.
Seeing Khan come back into the meta has been really big for a lot of these teams. The King Bomb is going to find a target, but he's going to trade out his life, unfortunately. FRZ God with 3 now on the Leon. We talk about everyone else, but you cannot forget about him. Triple kill in this fight.
I mean, you look at that last little clip when he's just hitting 3, nearly max damage on the presence is 1,200. He's plugging people for 1,000 plus 3 times in a row, pretty much from this spot. So he's like, that went pretty well last round. I think I'm going to take this little roost again if I can. Look at Sadak too, even staying pace with him. That's insane.
Wait, I didn't even realize. They have, no. Wait, no. I thought the Tyro was on the, I was going to say they had the triple damage amp team, and then I realized he's on the opposite side. Ares, they have the Hunter's Mark. This could be a good crossfire. He finds the first, looking for more. He's going to get himself out, so he does not bite off more than he can chew. He baits out the Immortal, though. Hero could fall on the back end of it anyway.
Yeah, well done. They got to get Invoko out of this spot. This is trouble for them. The Torvald has not played well for the Renegades. The 9th pick Torvald, maybe it was let go for a reason.
It's going to be it, Nick.
Like that is 13 killing blows, 14, almost 15.
So close.
Viral is saved by the bell as Space Station Gaming destroy the Renegades on Shattered Desert.
And a contentious set ends in a clean 4-0. Space Station Gaming take it. They take set number 1. hats off to Renegades. They looked good through the first few. Space Station just operating well on another planet there for the last couple games. A clean Shattered Desert seals this one up. Renegades still go searching for their next win here in the PPL. But I would say they looked pretty good today in some of their wins, Nick.
Onward and upward, the Renegades are a team that keep their head held high no matter good times or bad. That's something you have to give them credit for, and that's something they'll continue to improve on and use to their advantage. As this league gets so competitive, the fact that the Renegades were able to come and really take the lead in this set and set the pace, man, they're a team that you can't sleep on. I know their record is not great right now, but they are determined really to continue improving. They're committed, I think, to that goal.
They are. They're there. They'll keep fighting. Unfortunately, dropped today 4-2. Let's send it back to the desk to keep it moving.
Hey, Evan. You remember Space Station Gaming?
Hey, Gore. Yeah, looks like we found them.
Yeah, they remembered who they were for the last game. Last 2 games.
Problem is I'm scared for them in the future. And actually, let's put it this way. I'm not that scared because now they have a little time. But they do need to incorporate Atlas and Amani and have an answer for it. You can't keep banning that out. I thought Renegades did a favor to SSG by literally banning out the Atlas for them and allowing that Amani ban to go through, and not getting anything better from it. Right? You get Torvald and Fernando as your 2 main tanks. They get Khan and Barrick. Admittedly, even though you have that Torvald, it feels like SSG still come out even or maybe even stronger as far as the tank battle. And that's what you banned, and your first pick. You didn't take advantage of that. The Genos was a miss for me as a first pick, and I think that aside from that, SSG playing phenomenally and just getting back to comfort.
I'm just gonna throw it out there.
Yeah.
No damage amp in the world, no amount of damage amp in the world can save you from what this guy had prepared for them in that game.
Yeah, he had it all. I mean, Eminence is fantastic on this map. And it has always been, but FRZ guy kind of lit it up. He had that star-studded performance, helped take the team on his back. And that's why these guys are so good in this league. They slipped up, but everybody's been slipping up against NIP, so you almost can't discredit them for that. But they made adjustments mid-set. However, Renegades did too, and I have a lot of appreciation for the growth Renegades have shown and the way that they handled the earlier parts of the set. They clearly are more flexible DPS-wise, but maybe not more lethal than SSG as far as this new Amani Atlas kind of introduction. And it's really going to be up to them to now, incorporate that both sides into the next meta, so it's not such a hindrance for them.
Honestly, one of the things I think Renegades might have done here is really kind of given probably the best footage you could have if you're ever going up against SSG in the next couple weeks. Because yes, they're probably going to work on incorporating Amani and Atlas into it, but you've maybe shown a couple of weak spots that you could poke holes in drafting-wise that they're going to need to work on for the next couple weeks.
It's definitely been, but see, SSG, one of the things that I just had so many great combos with players, talking to them and said, they do their homework. SSG probably do twice the amount. That's just the sentiment of homework than almost, anybody here. And I think that everyone's doing work, but SSG, they have that kind of aspect that they're really, really studying. And in this matchup, they definitely made the great adjustments that they needed to. They taught it almost like a class that here's how we need to perfect our plays and make sure that we get the successful moment. And they found it. So congrats to them on the win.
Yeah, when they did exactly what they needed to. They were able to come through, adapt when they needed to, change what they needed to in order to find themselves a 4-2 victory. It got close towards the end, but they took a complete control with that 4-0. And let's go down to the victors to hear some of their own words describing that set.
All right, guys, congratulations. Big set win here today. It was very tumultuous, kind of very back and forth to start things off, but you win 3 straight to end out the set. What would you say changed from the back and forth at the beginning to 3 straight wins?
It was really part of we adapting to the game. Mainly that we know what they can do against us, which is adapted. That's all.
I'm walking up to the table. You're already shaking your head saying, I hate her. I hate her. I hate Amani. I'm going to give you the floor. Why? Why do you hate Amani so much?
It's so annoying. Everything of her is annoying. Like his eyes, his fucking dragon, everything. Everything. Just,
Aries, what are your thoughts on the way the meta kind of changed with the introduction of these 2 new characters? How have you adjusted your play style around those?
I think we're struggling a little bit because of the new meta. We didn't train Imani, so we didn't want to bring something to the table that we didn't train with. But for this week, we're gonna be a lot more prepared and more focused on the new meta.
I was going to say that would be a very exposed weakness at this point. You guys seem like you got to get up on the Imani. Despite hating her, it's tough, but it's great that you're able to get the win here, adjust, and grab 3 straight. Congratulations on the win. We're going to throw it to a quick break, and we'll be back with Nip versus Navi.
Thank you. Can I see five?
The Paladins Premier League, brought to you by Skillshot.